If I might just mention, we wrote in August 15th for a reason. We're trying to keep the number of days between putting the submittal out on the street to when it comes back to council to a certain number of days. And today is the 12th, and it's after 6 p.m., so it's not possible for us to put it out on the street this evening. So that's why we wrote in August 15th in the motion.
Okay, I'll word it like this then. I move to release the RFQ and the ITN as proposed on August the 12th, no earlier than August 15th, 2024. Because you can't, as proposed, and vote on it and not use that date.
All right, so I have a legal motion, substitute motion, second, still good with that, so Kai still call the vote? Yeah. There you go.
Okay.
All right, ayes have unanimously, so. Yep.
I have a follow-up motion on the same subject matter, and our financial advisor can tell us whether that's his job or whether it's Crystal's job, but I would like to have a summary on what our estimated charges are as we go through a bond issue, the bond counsel, the people that sell them, and all of that. Crystal, is that you, or would our
Yes,
advisor do
sir.
that?
All of that will be presented on September 16th when we have the estimated rates, so you'll be able to see the whole picture.
Okay, so I guess we don't need a motion for that. Do you think?
No, sir. That is, I promise that's part of the package.
And is it possible to get that before the day that we actually vote on?
It's more helpful to have the whole, to see the whole picture at the same time because it factors into how we calculate the all-in true interest cost. It's misleading to show these expenses separately. You need to see it as the whole picture. It's, John Ford or Jerry Ford, could you help me answer this question?
Sure.
So you will be able to estimate the other costs. And this is my third bond issue. I like knowing at least an estimate before the day I make a decision.
Absolutely, we agree.
So we're going to be able to do that estimate before.
Sir.
Okay, thanks.
All right, any other discussions? All right, seeing none. No motion needed. Yep, so no motion there. So I guess, I don't know if, Lisa, that's you, or Crystal, you want to start it off for new business C?
Sure. So the next item we have, at the August 5th regular council meeting, Councilmember Bagby requested staff provide a detailed plan for the allocation of funds that were identified in the 2023 budget that were rolled over into the 2024 budget and that remained unspent for the Parks and Recreation Department. So this item is informational, and it shows that Parks and Recreation in 2023, they had a total budget of $28.4 million. The city expended and/or encumbered $15.2 million, leaving $13.2 million total on the table. A lot of that was related to the beach acquisition, which, by the way, the largest item was the White House at Crystal Shores that we did not close upon. If we look down to just the renewal and replacement details, the renewal and replacement portion of that Parks and Recreation budget was $508,000, and the city expended $189,000, leaving $309,000 in the renewal and replacement fund that was moved forward to the following year. And there we have, we'll leave this 2023 item in case you have any questions. And when you're ready, we can move on to the next year, the 2024 item.
Councilman Destin?
Okay, this item appears to have a motion attached, or is it information only?
No, this one is informational only, as it
Okay.
refers to a past closed year.
Thanks.
Okay, seeing no further discussions on 23. All right, onward to D.
Okay, so this item, this 2024 Parks and Recreation Budget versus Actuals, was brought to council at the August 5th meeting. At the August 5th meeting, it was requested that staff come back with a definitive requested motion on what to do with our currently projected unspent remaining FY 2024 budget. And Parks and Recreation, they really struggled between two projects, but they decided that they feel the playground at the Morgan's Sports Center might be a higher priority. If we are able to go with that contract, the Omnia contract, there are some grant funds that accompany it right now. The grant ends October 31st, so their hope was that if council is amenable to moving some of these funds, for example, from the artificial infields, the fencing and netting for Morgan's, and some of the window replacement funds that we had budgeted for this fiscal year, if you're amenable to moving that, we could get the playground started and try to get as much of the grant funds as possible before the October 31st window closes.
Councilwoman Aber?
I was going to make the motion for
come on in.
discussion purposes. I move to do an internal budget transfer in the amount of $617,990 into the R&R 572 to start renovating the playground at Morgan Sports Center. The funds shall be taken from artificial infields, field netting, and community center window projects.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Anything else you'd like to discuss? All right, Councilman Destin.
Yeah, I can agree with the majority of this, except for the part about taking the money away from the window repairs at the community center. You know, if we continue to do that, we've already decided that we're going to close that place down or have it fall down around our ears.
Yeah, no, so we're still following council's direction. At June 3rd, you directed staff to go through with the $717,000 repairs to the windows, window frames, stucco, and roofing, and that is still set in the 2025 budget with funds that will be coming in in 2025.
Okay, so we're using 2024 money?
In 2024, we had only budgeted $200,000 for the community center windows.
And so that's the part we're going to move over? and
That's
use.
correct, so we're going to reassign that, do an internal
Well,
budget
in that case,
transfer.
I withdraw any objection.
Okay.
There we go. You know him so well. All right, up next, Councilman Bagby.
Okay, so what I just heard was the 200,000 for the windows is going to be rolled over to be applied in 2025.
No, sir. 2025 funding coming in will supplement to make sure that the $717,000 of window replacements at the community center happens next year. It won't roll forward if you do this internal budget transfer tonight. It goes out of our bank account when we, or it
So you're
becomes
going
not
to use the
available when we encumber it.
200,000, just so I understand, you're going to use the 200,000 budgeted for the windows for the playground
Correct, for 2024.
for
And get it
2024. Okay, and then a whole new tranche of money from somewhere in '25 for the windows. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and then the 1.3 million, where's my number here? For the other priority project, it's,
The LED lighting.
yeah, the LED
That's
lighting.
part of the, that comes from the renewal and replacement fund for from next year.
Okay. So, and I understand we make changes every year. I guess my point being, personally, I feel like we can either better get a bid, because there's going to be a couple of items tonight I'm going to ask you, where'd that come from? Did you get a bid, or are we just guessing? So when we get into the '25 budget, because some of them look like, man, we just kind of guessed. And I mean, we made an educated guess, but, you can get a bid, or get multiple bids and say, or I got a document, if you're a developer, you go to FPL and go, how much are you projecting your costs are going to increase to me next year? And they'll say, oh, it's going to be 8% across the board. So I can figure that into my next year's budget. But we'll cover that in a little bit. All right, that's all.
Kevin, Councilman Schmidt.
Thank you. A couple questions. So, some of these things, we're removing the funds. So are they going into 2025 budget?
No, sir. So the motion on the table was to do an internal transfer. So instead of spending it on the field netting and the artificial infields this year, we're going to do an internal budget transfer to be able to complete the program this year because the playground didn't have enough funds budgeted for it.
And did we do, couldn't see on the 23 one, but
And I believe
on the 23, was there
the quote is
field netting
attached.
budgeted for that as well?
Oh, sorry. One more time?
In the 23 one, was there field netting and turf in that budget in 23?
No, there was not.
No.
Okay. So then, just to confirm, we planned to do these things in '24, but now we're doing an internal transfer, and it's not in '25's budget
A couple
currently.
things.
Because I know we're going to talk about '25
Right,
next,
right.
but-
As you've received the quotes, you'll know that the amount that we budgeted to accomplish these projects wasn't adequate.
Okay.
Some of these, to Bagby's point, some of these are educated guesses, and then we go out after the fact when council wants to move the position.
So we're removing the items that we planned for in '24, and we're not currently planning for them in '25. Is that correct?
There are different responses for the different projects. For example, the LED lighting at Morgan's
No, I'm
to
talking
replace the
about the
fields,
ones
that's
that
still
Ms.
budgeted.
Hebert said, the 200,000 from artificial turf, the 288,000 from field netting, and the 120, the community center said, I think you said it's gonna be still budgeted, but those first two, are those budgeted in '25 currently?
The artificial infielding is, so you have in your packet the 5-year plan, the 5-year capital plan, and I believe that was moved out, the artificial turf and the safety netting. Let's see, the safety netting was moved out to 2026 because it looks like we need about $450,000 for that.
Okay.
And the artificial turf, talking through the initial quotes we've received, it has become clear that the city needs to spend more time looking at the drainage quotes that'll go along with installing artificial turf so that we can avoid some of the problems that some of our neighbors are having with that particular quote
Okay.
that we had, so.
That's fine. So
That
just-
one's also
all
been
right,
moved
I think you
out into
answered the
future.
question then, that it's not currently planned in the '25 budget. Then.
Correct.
Perfect. The only other question is I think I heard that we're automatically going to approve a contract for the playground with this motion?
So this
It's not going to go
particular,
out for bid?
this item has attached to it an Omnia contract. That's basically somebody else, it's a contract that we could piggyback upon that already has the grant program built into it. So your choice is to accept this quote with this Omnia contract because a full procurement process has already been completed. So we're just benefiting from the fact that another entity did the procurement process, or you can direct staff to go out and do a full RFQ and RFP, in which case I can guarantee we would not have the results back to vote upon and start before this fiscal year ends, in which case we might just want to move that project to next year.
So is the Omnia contract thing that you're talking about to do the game time sports quote? Is
That's
is what you're
correct.
referring to?
That game time proposal in here is, was,
And who's the other municipality that went through the process that you talked about?
It's
Lisa, can you speak to the Omnia
It's a
contract? Go ahead.
wide contract.
Okay. I mean, me personally, I don't feel, I think it's irresponsible not to go out to bid for a nearly $750,000 project, so I don't, I mean, I'm fine with what Ms. Abear is saying, but I'd like to see bids come back for a massive project like that, in my opinion. So fine with moving the funds, but I don't like just giving the contract to somebody with one bid, unfortunately.
Okay. Councilman Bagby?
So, looking at the 24 schedule, we'll have about 71,000 left in the window replacement for the community center, right? We'll have another 40,500 left in the HVAC replacement for, I believe, the community center. Let's see. Yes, the community center. And we'll have another 20,000 to replace the sprayer, the windows at the Morgan Sports Center, although that's kind of offset by overspending on the replacing the sod, the HVAC, and the replacing the sprayer. So that probably nets out. I'm just wondering, what are we doing with the $111,000 that's still in the budget for Parks and Rec?
If council does nothing, it will just stay in the renewal and replacement bank account to be applied towards projects next year. Or council can choose to do something.
Okay,
But
so
if
is
council
it-
does nothing, that's where it would fall.
I don't remember seeing that in the 25 budget. So I'm just asking, do we have a plan for that? Or
So-
is that, because one of the things I'm trying to keep track of is all these kind of floating monies that are out there. Because when Mr. Destin says, now we're going to cut 3%, I want to say, well, we got 111,000 that we were going to roll over for Parks and Rec that they obviously didn't need, unless you tell me, well, no, we would like to use it for X or Y. When I ask for the full plan for the rest of the year, for the next month and a half, this fiscal year, that's also part of it. I mean, you got the big piece, I got that, but now it's time to
Right.
sharpen the pencil.
So when we get to the next item, you're going to see you have all of the budget projections. When you look at a fund like the Renewal and Replacement Fund, that fund balance really truly is a bank account. It's just the bank account balance. So there you see what we're anticipating to complete in 2024. You see what your ending fund balance is going to be, and then you see how we're going to spend it the following year. Any additions we're going to make, any fund balance we might be using, and any expenditures that we have planned. So that full picture of the checking account and that checking account balance, how it increases or decreases, all of our projections are in this budget that we're presenting.
Yeah, I understand that. I guess my issue is, we used to look at projects at the back, and there are some in here, or actually in the previous one, I didn't see them on this one.
The second meeting at every council meeting, we bring forth the capital project status report, and we show you the available fund balance. And we also talk about if the project is paused or not paused, or if we're recommending that we do an internal budget allocation to the project. So those details by project are also presented every second council meeting.
Yeah, I wasn't clear. Let me be a little more clear. When we adopt a budget, that is our spending plan for the year. It's not a bank account. And unfortunately, we have used those fund balances like they were a bank account. Well, we still got money. Let's buy this parcel, or let's do this project, or whatever. And so I want to know exactly where every penny's proposed to go. And if we don't spend it, that's, we've made that decision collectively. We've identified what we want to spend it on, those monies left over or whatever. So I'm just not sure, and we'll get more into this in the 25 budget, but so all I heard here was we don't really have a plan for the $111,000 from those two lines that we're going to roll over.
Bottom line is, if council does nothing, it will fall and it will supplement the balance that we have available for renewal and replacement next year.
Okay. Councilman Destin?
I was going to make a point of order, Mayor. Councilman Schmidt is exactly right about questioning about the contract being added. Under Robert's rules, these motions have to be single subject. This motion has transfers and approving a contract. You really can't do that under Robert's rules, and nor should you under any rules. So I would suggest that we separate them out and do the transfer and then do the contract on the second motion.
Okay. All right, there might be a third one in there if it goes the other, yep, okay, I'm tracking. I'm just making sure I'm clicking with you here. All right, so.
All need to be separate motions.
Yeah, Councilwoman Aber, can we separate your first motion?
Yes, that's what I was going to offer.
Councilman Stevens, are you okay separating the first part of that motion?
Yes.
For the balances of the funds solo? All right.
Yeah.
All right, anything else, Councilman Destin?
Could you
Okay.
please read the motion for the record, sir?
Yes, so it's just the first part of, it was the recommended motion, correct?
Yeah, the recommended motion.
Okay, yeah, Ray, so just, it's the recommended motion, and then we're going to just take out anything the fund shall be taken in. To start renovating, yeah, so just the motion is just about the budget transfers. It's same line items, same numbers, just the budget, we're just gonna separate the budget versus the contract.
Does that make sense, Ray?
Got it? All right, good deal. All right, so we got that taken care of. Yep, you're up next, Councilwoman Aber.
Two questions. On the contract, if you look inside the,
Not on the contract yet, are we?
not on the contract.
No, we're just
On the
on-
playground combined format of all the prices of everything that's dished out, I noticed down here, and I want to make sure that it's the year that we've passed the opportunity. It said the game time, Wesley Tower play structure, winter sale pricing good through 3/29/2024, purchased after 3/29/2024, basically add 18,000 to the total. So I'm guessing we missed the March purchase, so therefore we did not get that $18,000 discount, correct?
Correct, and now there's another one in place.
Got it. And
that
then,
Expires October 31st.
I was going to say that the one at the end of October, so hopefully we'll get this through and done on that. The other question I wanted to, not really a question, more of, when you look at the contract at Omnia, at the total of the, on the
Let's get
bottom
the
of page
first
2.
motion out of the way before getting into the contracts.
I'm still on the, I'm talking about the supplies for the playground, not the contract of the playground. The subtotal was $756,614. They gave us a $48,000 discount, and then the freight was $11,000, so the total was $717,988 and change. So we're getting as nice a playground setup, looking at all the parts, as what they did at the Clement Taylor over on Okaloosa Island for over $1 million, am I right?
Well,
I think we're getting a really good deal is what I really want to say, is we've got a good deal here, piggybacking on this opportunity, saving a couple $100,000. So I just want to make that on the record because I'm glad we found a way to help get our grant a little bit more money off. Thank you.
All right, Councilman Guile.
Yeah, I was going to ask a few questions. One was to Crystal about how much do you think we could actually gain from the grants? Is there a dollar amount in your mind that you and Jeff have thought about or anticipated?
Yeah, to be honest, Lisa Firth, our Parks Director, has been really leading this, and she has a far stronger understanding of the grant
Okay.
and which of these components are grant eligible than I do. Go ahead, Lisa.
So, the safety surfacing is not included. The some of the structures that we have on here, like the ropes, those are not included. So there's certain structures that will be matched, and the installation is not included. So we might have to, maybe to get a little more bang for our buck, maybe change a couple of the structures. We just have to sit down and look at that with the playground.
But is there a dollar amount in your mind that this grant could potentially get us?
Well, I mean, I would hope maybe a third.
A third, that's good.
That's a
third.
guess.
No, no, that's
So-
fine. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for. I don't expect a solid answer. I'm just trying to understand how much we could potentially save by moving forward with this. Second, I've got something that I think was just said is not really accurate. It said 110,000 that Parks and Recs didn't actually need. I don't find that to be accurate because being involved with some of these bids and looking at them and working with Lisa on some of these, I think a lot of these are the fact that either the contractors refused to bid them and we didn't get enough bids on the projects, so people didn't move forward, or two, they bid so ridiculously high that they were doing their due diligence by putting it out for rebid. So I don't think it's money that we've passed up, money that we've neglected. I think it's staff working really hard to do due diligence to ensure we're either not overpaying or disregarding the projects we are not getting bids on. Contractors are refusing to bid on. And finally, the last thing I'd like to mention, with that 110,000, if we choose, that is in the R&R fund, that can go towards either the stormwater that we need for the 66 miles of roadway, the mobility plan. There's a lot of things that money can go for. It doesn't necessarily have to stay on a bank account or stay with Parks and Rec if we chose, if this council decided to do something worthwhile with it.
Is that correct? Just general funds?
That's true. These are all general funds that are, yeah, in particular, the funds we've been discussing were the ones that are in the R&R.
Yeah, I was just asking for the last part of the funds. All right, we got a motion and a second on the points of, oh my God, I don't even have it up in front of me. Yes, thank you for the line items here. So does anyone need another say of the motion? Are we pretty on board? Looking like we're good. All right, we're going to call the vote for the line items, the first half of this motion. All right, 6-1, ayes have it. Okay, and then if someone wants to do a second part of the motion or a substitute to the recommended motion for the second half.
I'll make a motion to send out the request for purchase or requisitions for playground complex.
I second.
All right, I got a first and a second for the Morgan Sports Center Playground Complex going out for a bid. Do I have any other discussions? Or, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put that in your mouth. Just put that out. Okay? No? No, I have something, but it's not giving us the option. Okay. Ray, I think we're just still on the vote. Thank you, sir. Yeah, come on. All right, we're going to start off with Councilman Bagby.
So as I understand the motion, it's to send the playground out to bid. Is that the motion? Motion, second? Okay, and so the way I thought I understood the contract that's in there is like the state has this contract to buy vehicles. So we always use the state contract to buy vehicles because they've got bulk, every sheriff's office and every city, county, they all buy these vehicles through the state contract. And the state negotiates. So I assumed this was one of those type of contracts. So A, is that a good assumption? It is, okay. And B, did the state negotiate this, the county, the League of Cities, who is the Mac Daddy of this negotiated contract with this company?
Yeah, so I just wanted to also make a point of clarification. So
Okay.
tonight, we were looking for does council want to do the playground now or wait until next year? If you want to do it now, are you okay with a budget transfer? If you wanted to do it, then we would like to bring to the next meeting, we need to give you a revised quote, but yes, you're correct. This one was done at the national level. Was this the NERPA? I can't remember which foundation, but it's a nationwide entity that did this solicitation. Do you remember the name of that entity?
It's the Omni contract. And so are you asking?
Hit that button.
I happen to know this one. Omnia is out of Michigan, I think, and it's a nationwide government procurement, just because I've used it on other projects.
Okay.
Okay, so, but they're not a government entity, they're a private business that goes out and solicits for, and there are some of these around, I get that. The FLC is not a government entity by itself, but it represents government. So I'm just trying to figure out,
Yeah, I believe you're right, and they do the procurement for certain groups of procurement for states that have gotten together in an organization, but the Omnia itself is a private entity, and their procurement is done under the public procurement rules.
so has anybody, and I think this question may have been asked earlier, has somebody else used this contract vehicle in this area?
It's the same that TDC is putting that playground on the island.
Okay,
I mean, I think they did one in Crest, I'm not going to guess on anything else, but yeah, they're around here, but they are doing that one on the island right now for TDC.
okay.
I used it to put a strawberry park called Strawberry Park in Oregon. Same,
Okay.
similar contract.
Okay, yeah, because typically these government-type contracts do give you the best price. My concern, I'll just be honest with you, is we can go out and we can get a bid and we can list all this equipment and we can try to find somebody else who will bid on that exact same set of equipment. And 6 months from now, we will not have spent a penny. We will not have gotten a bid in. And again, next summer, we will have a sports center with no playground park. And so I understand what y'all are, and I think normally I would be right on that team, but I can't support that motion because I think this probably is a great price. And if there are others, I would like you to come back though, next week or whenever our next meeting. Next Monday, which I won't be here. Or you can just email me and tell me who besides the TDC in Northwest Florida has used this contract. I'm sure there's, that would just give me a better feeling because this probably is the best price. And I don't want to spend another 6 months without a playground just so we can come back here and say, wow, that was the best price.
Okay, yes, sir.
All right, Councilman Guile.
And Crystal, one thing you mentioned a second ago, if we don't do this, have something signed by October, we potentially lose the grant. The grant has to be submitted by October.
The current grant that is working with this particular Omnia grant, yes, with this particular Omnia contract expires October 31st. But
October
that's not
31st.
to say that, another grant opportunity won't come our way.
But that's, I mean, possible. This one's for sure, something else is possible.
Yeah, this one is already signed and black and is working.
And we estimate it's approximately a third, it'll discount this by a third, 33%.
I think Lisa needs to go and get a fresh, because this one was from a few months ago. I think she needs to go get a fresh quote.
Okay, even if
And
it's
get more
20%.
specific on exactly how much in grant funding would apply.
Yeah, even if it's 20%, it's a substantial deduction.
That's correct.
So if we have a potential of losing that, if we go out to bid. All right.
Councilman Destin.
Yeah, that was mainly my question. If we put it off very long, we may delay the whole thing into next year. So while I was quite supportive that we had to separate it out, not have more than one thing on a motion, I won't be able to support this. And if it doesn't pass, we will have to make a motion to approve, correct? And then you're going to bring the details, or you're going to bring the final contract back at the next meeting? Is that what you said?
Yes, so if this motion passes, we'll bring back an RFQ. If the motion does not pass, then we will bring back the revised, refreshed quote from Omnia with who else besides TDC is using this contract in our area, and a better estimate on the potential grant savings.
Thanks.
All right, Councilwoman Aber.
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Destin. I don't want to put it off because we might end up losing it, but I do want to see a fresh quote. And I think we're going to find out from the TDC at West Crestview that got a really beautiful one. I think also Milton just got one, and Pensacola's in the middle of doing them, and I think they're with the same contract, but I can't swear by it. But I have been seeing that there's been some beautiful playgrounds finished. I'm like, we need that here so badly. So, yeah, I will not support the motion, but I do want to see a fresh update, and then we'll just try and get this started. Thank you, Crystal.
All right, Councilman Schmidt.
Yeah, just a couple clarification points. Councilman Gall has been throwing a lot of random numbers out, about 20% and thirds and things like that. We truly don't know what we're going to get, right?
That's
Okay.
correct.
Okay. And then Jeff, if it goes out for a bid, can that go out without coming back to the council? Can that go on the streets, an RFP or an RFB?
Council in the past was not in the business of reviewing and approving the RFPs, but so many questions were brought up when bid committee brought back their responses that staff has over time, started that practice. So we could just put an RFP out with these specs for this instead and just bring back the results. We tend to put them out on for 30 days. We use Beacon Bid and Demand Star. We're August 12th now, so the likelihood, I don't know, Jeffrey, if we were to go through the RFP process using this as the specs, we might be able to have something back by September 16th, which is the last meeting in the fiscal year, so.
So it's still possible to do it and
It's
have it
possible,
before the
it's-
grand deadline?
Right.
Okay.
All right, Councilman Gall.
Yeah, I want to clarify something. I'm not throwing out arbitrary numbers. I took information from a staff member that's educated in this and has historical information. So it was an educated decision or comment.
All right, we got a motion on the table. I got a second. Does everyone know the motion? All right, calling the vote. All right, noes have it 4-3.
Thanks, Tori.
Your tactic worked.
Can we make sure that's on the record, Ray?
Kevin, you are very persuasive. Look at that. Even making the. Do we want to move on? Is there a way to amend that?
I'll make the motion, as written. Hang on. Motion to approve the contract.
Second.
All right, a motion and a second for the recommended motion. Calling the vote. All right. Take a breath.
Tori, breathe. Breathe.
Oh,
I'll
okay.
second.
Yeah, Councilman Stevens had the second. All right, 6-1, ayes have it. Johnny's having way too much fun over here.
Johnny, did you make?
All right, last one. New business E. Crystal, take it away.
All right, here we are, exactly at the main event, and if council's okay, I would like to switch hats for this next discussion from acting city manager to finance director. Does
that mean we're pulling him up?
Yes, I'd like to, yeah, sure. If you don't mind, I'd like to come down where I can see your faces.
Please, yes.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm here now as the Finance Director of the City of Destin to have one more budget workshop with you all. Thank you all for coming and attending and showing your interest. On this, because this is a special council meeting, you know you all have the right to do motions and to approve items. I really look forward to getting some consensus on some of these larger topics. In the agenda, you'll see that staff is very specifically, explicitly requesting guidance on two items. One is the question of bringing the median maintenance in-house or contracting it out. So when we get to the slide that shows the differences, we've got Michael Burgess here to speak more specifics with you all about that. The second item that we're seeking council direction on is lifeguard services. You'll see near the back of the packet, near almost the last few pages right before the TIF, you'll see the TIF worksheets. You'll see what the Fire District has proposed. They gave us their 2024 annual report, and the page right before that, you'll see at the bottom they're requesting $282,000 for next year. In their annual report, they describe how the lifeguard program costs them about $1.3 million a year. So we'll be getting, those are the two items that I'd like you to be thinking about as we go through this proposal, because we'll be seeking direction on those specifically. Along the way, you all as council might also come up with things that maybe you want to reprioritize, push out into the future, pull forward into 2025. So this is your opportunity to have those discussions as well. So let's go. Here's our presentation. The highly summarized level. So we have our budget calendar again, changes since the September 15th workshop. The FY 2025 proposed budget, operating highlights, capital improvement program and renewal and replacement. Take a very quick short look at revenues and cost recovery again, and then the next steps. So here's our budget process. We're approaching the end quickly. We have one more meeting in August, and then our next meeting is September 5th is public hearing number 1, where we will adopt the millage rate and the tentative budget. I need to get that tentative budget up on our website by statute, Florida statute, within 2 days before public hearing number 1. So your decisions tonight will determine the tentative budget that goes up on our website. I'm aiming for the end of August so that people actually have a few days to review, because we have got a lot of detail. So here we are. 2025 proposed budget versus the 2024 total operations, which would include general government, public safety, everything excluding debt service and capital outlay. The total operation change we're looking at is 3.9%. These are the changes since the September 15th workshop. Operations and capital projects, the total net reduction is $342,000. Changes to operations, we had some decreases, but we also had some increases. Changes in operations accounts for a reduction of $62,000. We reduced the personnel budget by $400,000. This included $200,000 reductions in salaries and another $200,000 in benefits. Health insurance came down from 11% to 8.3%. And we are saying we're recommending that we freeze 3.83 of our full-time equivalents. We'll get to those details soon. We put in the $140,000 for annexation next year for the opinion survey, and potentially, depending on the opinion survey results, a meets and bounds survey. We are not including the $10,000 for special election. That's been moved to 2026. This budget that you have in front of you tonight includes $282,000 for Destin Fire Control for lifeguard services. So that's an increase of $82,000 from the budget that we presented in July. We've also added some funding or some money for the software right to uses. So this is basically more debt service accounting stuff that we're doing. Overall, the clearing and the software workstation stuff over time, it's all coming down as we change our softwares and our providers. We also added $10,000 to the operating budget to rent a towable boom instead of purchasing one for $40,000. On the capital projects, the net reduction is $280,000. We removed, the Community Development Department wanted to redesign over here and add some cubicles to add some more planners and space for staff so that we can meet the demand of the developers. They're recommending putting that off to a later year. Basically, we're going to see what the SRS results and council's wish for future directions before we make such an investment into this building. We also removed the Parks and Recreation's request for the towable boom, which I just mentioned, and removed Parks and Recreation's request for 2 new vehicles. F-150s on the state contract tend to cost around $40,000 when you add in all the bells and whistles of decals and extra lights and everything. So that's a budget reduction of $80,000. More on capital projects. Based on internal discussions with engineering and the quotes that came in, we think that we can accomplish the Clement Taylor Park renovations next year for $1.7 million. At the last meeting, we had it set at 1.9 as we were looking to outside support for management. We also moved to, from the FY24 into 2025, the Morgan's bathrooms and field house, because we feel there is a very strong potential to win a grant that should significantly help on that project. In addition, at the last council meeting, you recall, you approved DAG to oversee the architectural engineering, design, and permitting to put the bathrooms in at Buck Destin. After we have the permits, then we're gonna need to hire people to do the site work to actually put the bathrooms in place. We don't feel we can accomplish that before September 30th, so we put $75,000 into the 2025 budget to complete the site work. We will see as we get further along in the permitting, if we can do that with our existing continuing contractors, or if we need to go out and issue an RFP to hire a construction firm to complete that for us. So those are the big changes from the July 15th workshop to today. So here we are. This is what we're proposing. This is a budget of $65.3 million. As you can see, 25.6 million or 25.7 is going towards operations, and the capital project budget right now is at 39.6. Here's what it looks like in pie chart format. You can see we're relatively spread around pretty evenly between Parks and Rec, transportation, general government, and physical environment. Here's what the 2 charts look like, separating out the operating from the capital budgets, or from the capital projects. Operations, you can see we're still pretty evenly allocated between general government, public safety, transportation, culture and rec, and debt service. On the other side, you see that the bulk of the funding is going towards transportation and physical environment, and culture and recreation. So under physical environment by the state, that means in our position, that's the undergrounding. Andy, we sure do seem to run out of batteries here in this pretty quickly. Thank you. Oh, there we go. So here's the sources. Ad valorem will account for approximately 21% of the sources that is covering this $65.3 million budget. Intergovernmental is in this light green up in the corner here. Intergovernmental is 23%. By the way, that 14 million of intergovernmental funds includes $8.9 million in grant funding. And here we are back at the operational highlights. So you can see the change by expenditure type as opposed to category. Personnel increasing 8%, and that's because of the new positions we're proposing. Contracts is going down because one of the proposals is to reduce the stop paying the median maintenance contract, stop outsourcing it, and to bring it in-house. So you see a decrease on one side and an increase in the other side. Operations is staying pretty flat at 1%. Debt service is the big one that's going up. Debt service has to go up to help us pay back for buying the One Harbor Boulevard and getting into the undergrounding. And potentially, you still need to decide if we're going to keep moving that Crosstown Connector project forward. So here's some operational highlights. We're going to talk about the personnel update, bringing median maintenance in-house, public safety. So here are our new personnel highlights. At the previous meeting in July, we were looking at a full-time equivalent count of 134.8 people. Now we're looking at 130.83. So we've decreased our request by 3.83. You also see here the base salaries, cost of living, merit, FICA, retirement, insurance, workers' comp, and so forth. Councilman Bagby, this would be a good time. Well, you can see we reduced the overall personnel from 11.7 million down to 11.4. I was thinking from a policy level, because budget and adoption of budget is definitely a policy ordinance level, we have $303,000 in this proposed budget. Tonight would be a good time to recommend, perhaps you say, staff, I would like to see the merit budget be reduced to by 30% or 50% or whatever you'd like to.
Thanks. I guess this is just a stop, I figured I was going to let you get through, and I'll make my 10 motions or how many, or actually we can just start at one end and everybody, can do their little piece to make their motions, because this was the reason we had a special meeting, so we could actually vote and say, no, this is what the council's priorities are, or this is what our decision is, as opposed to, well, I think, and I think, and I think, and then, so if you want me to start making motions, you just tell me when.
Okay,
If
yeah.
there's one specific to what you're talking about, yeah.
If you want to wait to the end, we can add that to the end.
Yeah.
Personnel is 17% of the total 2025 budget. And the city's administrative policy for cost of living is to use the June over June CPI. It says March, but that was updated in June. The CPI index that we used did come down to 2.97%, so that percentage is still correct. Administrative policy is for merits to be up to 4%, and it's on a person's anniversary and their work anniversary. I asked Jamie to look into some of these details, and she says the majority of our staff were hired between January and September, so not October to December, in case anybody was curious about that. We still have 5 new positions, and we've recommended freezing a couple of vacant positions and 2 of the proposed positions, maybe putting them off a year. So here's some more of the details here. What they're requested, the request still stands. They'd still like 1 planning manager to help the community development division, and depending on how your median maintenance discussion goes, they have the 4 positions for median maintenance, so we've dropped this down to the 5. The ones that we're looking at freezing for now, code compliance has 2 part-time positions that are really difficult to fill, so they've put those on the table to perhaps hold off until they get all of their full-time people up and trained. In addition, in the accounting office, we have an accounting clerk position that we feel we can live without. The 3 full-time people that we have on staff right now are really rock stars, so they're able to cover all of the scanning and data.
Crystal, is that the payroll specific?
What's that?
Is that the payroll that we have advertised right now for the accountant
No,
specific payroll?
payroll's the third leg to the
That's
internal
okay.
stool. This was an additional position for just document management, basically. Also, the city manager has 1 part-time content creator on staff. So the city manager said, well, perhaps we don't need 2 part-time content creators. And so he put that one here as a freeze. But again, their PIO is just trying to meet all of the requests from council, but maybe we can put that one off for a while. And then the last position that you might want to consider, the IT department said, well, maybe we as 3 people total can handle all of the work of the city, but it would be so much better if they had another person on staff, given all of the software updates that the city's about to go through. It would be incredibly helpful, especially if anybody gets sick or goes out on FMLA for family members or needs a vacation, or, there are 1,000 different reasons. So maybe we should consider that one, keeping that one in instead of cutting it out. But these were what staff put on the table as things to take out, if you so wish. Operational highlights. Here's the median maintenance, in-house versus outsource. July 11th, we had received only 1 bid at $462,000 a year. So I believe staff is looking for direction on put the bid out on the street again, maybe make some adjustments to it, or we understand that over time, bringing it in-house might end up being a little more costly, but your quality, we hope, would go significantly up. So that's the biggest, one of the biggest items to be discussed tonight. Operational highlights, let's continue on. Sheriff's contract, you have the sample sheriff's contract with his details in the back of the packet, comparing year over year, so they're looking at a 6.8% increase. Lifeguard contract is increasing. It's been at $100,000 a year since 2007, so now they're asking for $282,000. Code compliance, they decreased their request from down, so now they're just looking at adding 1, let's see, nope, you're not looking at adding anybody, so they're back down to the 14 FTEs, but we found this as our first year having all of these additional people. We were really short on funding for training and for operating supplies, so that's why it's increasing this next year $85,000. Here's just a little chart to show the tech expenses. after we get these implementations complete, that should significantly bring our year-over-year software and workstation costs down. 5-year capital improvement plan, renewal and replacement. So this current 5-year capital improvement plan, 96% of it, or 61.6 million of it, is all going towards items that are on your strategic plan. And we've listed here in detail the other 4%. These items are not clearly, explicitly on council's strategic plan, so we're calling them out. But you'll see that they've all been things that have been heavily discussed with council in your meetings. Here's another way to look at it, the 5-year capital improvement plan. As of August 6th, you can see the outstanding amount of encumbrances or contracts that we have currently working on different projects that may potentially roll over. Council directed for FY 2025, that 29 million, we listed these projects down below here, so that's continued park development at Crystal and Tarpon Beach, undergrounding, crosstown connector, dredging the harbor, and the Mattie Kelly outfall to accomplish that before DEP goes into the Joe's Bayou to start working in that area. The items highlighted in blue, that's our renewal and replacement program, and I've put the highlights of that over on the side here too, so you can see 3.7 million going towards streets, 717 going towards the community centers, roof frames, windows, stucco, resealing the roof. This one still includes 790 for the playground, which if you go forward in approving a contract before September 30th, I'll take that out of the future. Then we've got the 1.3 million for athletic field lights. We need also about $64,000 for the parking lot lights also at MSC. Might as well go in and do them all at the same time. Those field, the parking lot lights at Morgan Sports Field, there's something that keeps tripping the breaker, so they turn off all the time. So staff have to go out a few times after dark to keep turning them back on. So it'd probably be a good idea when we have the lighting people mobilized here to address those. We also have the field equipment shed. That's the site work to get the shed replaced. We already ordered the new shed. Now it's just a matter of completing the site work to put it in place. And this houses all of the ground maintenance equipment, the mowers and so forth we have. There's a library sign and then some vehicles and equipment. We've got those details on the page. So this is really the heart. This is the bulk of the projects we're going to do next year. Here's the new vehicles and equipment. That was one of the comments from the last public meeting. Is please list out any new vehicles the city is looking at. So we have the project number here on one side. So we still have that low-rise transit van for the community center. One new Bronco Sport, which is the smaller vehicle for code. And then this, below that is all the equipment, the $114,000 in equipment we need if we move median maintenance inside. The next, here we have replacement vehicles and equipment. So on one side you see what exactly we're proposing to replace and the estimated cost of the item that will replace it. So this includes 3 Z-turn mowers that are used by our Parks and Recreation Department to keep our parks and our Morgans nice. Revenue. We just went over that. Again, 21% comes from ad valorem and 23% comes from intergovernmental. And then we have, but a large percent to cover next year's budget is coming from debt proceeds. 9 million of those debt proceeds was supposed to come in this year to help us buy One Harbor Boulevard. Timing issues. State shared revenues and our peers, thought it might be interesting for you to be able to see. So these revenues are all population-based. Does it show up here? Yeah. So you can see Census Bureau and the Florida Economic and Demographic Research, they see us still at just under 14,000 people. So comparing us with Crestview, just looking at these shared revenues from the state, the city of Destin will get about 5 million, whereas our friends up in Crestview will get about 9.4 million. The half-cent sales and the municipal revenue sharing, that's that state sales tax. It's divided amongst a few different programs before being distributed out to municipalities. So when people say, I just wanted to show, when people say, oh, will you get all that 7% sales tax? No, we don't. It goes to the state, it goes into a few different programs, and then it's redistributed. And one of the primary factors in the formula is population, and our population is 15,000, not 100,000.
Because of all the unincorporated parts of Destin.
And all of the short-term rentals that don't have residents registered and counted for,
And
Yes,
since this is the only
for
time I can
census
kind of
counts,
ask this
population counts.
group here without getting too down the rabbit hole, this was something that me and Crystal were talking about, and I don't know if there's any possibility if someone else has tried it, I don't know. But if I was going to be at Tallahassee this year trying to garner some kind of legislation support, again, there might be a rule already out there saying that it's already been talked about and voted and no, but the idea of allowing tourist destinations in Florida, because we're definitely not the only Destin-like community where our population of residents versus our population of tourists are absent, I guess, completely on two different spectrums. So the idea of if we're able to count TDC's heads and beds, if there was a way to count that tourist as a portion of a population of some kind, again, this is, I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that. It's really the only kind of time if anyone's ever heard of that or had any thoughts on that. Nothing to really answer now, but that's just something I was trying to dig around and ask some of the reps if there's any kind of legislation or sponsoring that could happen to potentially help many tourist communities like us where we're having the brunt of renewal and replacement, which a lot of these funds are for, yet we're not really getting our fair share of the replacement from all the use and wear and tear. So again, I don't know if there's anything out there, but that's kind of something that's in my nugget. Heard about that before? Is that a good, bad, dumb idea?
Oh, yeah, it would be wonderful
But-
if we could get it done, but it is generally opposed by the large municipalities that do not have tourists because they want to keep their money and they
Yeah.
don't want us to have it, but you keep trying, eventually you may prevail.
Okay. Appreciate it.
So the three examples in this area, Navarre, South Walton, both tried to make efforts at incorporating or whatever. And even when we tried to do the municipal resort tax, so we kind of had our own bed tax, they all failed. And they failed because the county representatives and the state representatives have their districts. And so if you're a county representative, a county commissioner, and there's 100,000 voters in Okaloosa County, and only 14,000 of them, well, actually it's smaller, but only 14,000 of them are going to benefit there, and everybody else is going to
The
pay.
math, yeah.
It's simple math to them. So getting a state representative to support incorporation or any of these other ideas, while it would benefit us, is probably a non-starter from a state representative, state senator, who we would have to have sponsor that.
All right, I appreciate the insight. All right, Councilman Guile? Is this for an hour later? I had you on the diets, I just started looking.
It's sitting up there.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Yeah, my bad. My bad. I was like, man, he knows something I don't know. Come on.
I can go back to labor if you want.
All right. Do you have anything now? Okay.
I was just going to say, this just, it sort of helps for those that you're working so diligently with these other areas of the city, the unincorporated. I heard from several residents that are in Kelly Plantation, in Emerald Bay, they were all like, they did not know they weren't incorporated.
Yeah.
Lots of people have moved here in the last 5 years and are shocked that they don't get the benefits of the city, and they want to know why. It's like, talk to your HOA, we're working that direction. So hopefully that we can start working to get more folks incorporated and get our fair share.
Yeah, there's a little over 3,000 voters, about 5,000 population, so we'd be looking a little bit more like Fort Walton with an additional 1.5 per year
I'll take it.
without their taxes. Yep. All right, thank you.
So here we are with our property taxes again. It's good to keep your eye on that trend line. When we get too far below, you know that they're going to maybe bounce back up to the trend line, but as you can see, we're way far above our trend line at the moment. So that could represent a, we could see a property value drop here. But the taxable property values, our property appraisers generally pretty conservative, but just, it's something to keep in mind. So here we are, here's our ad valorem. You'll see in the last couple pages, the Department of Revenue calculates the exact percentage of taxable increase or tax increase that we have to report in the newspaper. It's not something that they leave to anybody like me to make a mistake upon. So I just wanted to point out that for some reason their worksheets got recalculated after July. We put in our tentative rate, and so we're looking at a tax increase right now is 7.89%, and they're showing our rollback rate at 1.4969. So this is how the funds would break out between the general fund, the town center CRA, and the harbor CRA. And this is just another way, a different way to look at our ad valorem. This is the parcel counts. We have separated them into 3 different groups. We've got the homesteaded at 3,500 parcels, other residential at 10,700 parcels, and then non-residential at 2,000. So just another way to look at the whole picture. If you do the straight-up division of how much we're going to collect from the homesteaded, that 1.7 million, you divide that by the 3,522 parcels. That's where we get that average of $495 that would be paid from homesteaded properties. This is a picture of a financially sound city where we just show the total cost to operate the city divided by the number of parcels we have. That comes out to about $1,579 a year, plus you add on renewal and replacement program, that's another $485. Here's one more way to look at the millage rate. We're at a point now where we've established a tentative millage rate of 1.61, and unless we want the great expense of first-class mailings to all the voters, we're going to leave it at the 1.61, but it's still helpful to see the data in another light. This year, the median taxable value of a property in Destin is $360,000, and if you were to increase 1/10 of a mil, they would pay another $36, and we would across the board, we would collect another $829,000 if we increased it 1/10 of a mil. Here's one more way to look at all of our parcels. This is divided by value range. One of the most interesting I find here is our non-residential units. There aren't very many of them, and the bulk of them have values, taxable values under $600,000. You can see our homesteaded. Last year, it was 78% of all of our properties were valued under $600,000. Some of them have increased, so now we've dropped down to only 74%. So that's still the majority of our properties. Cost recovery. Just a little reminder for anybody out in the world that might be watching our YouTube live. If it's going to be a general public benefit, we look at potentially taxes to pay for it. If it's more of an individual benefit, the rule of thumb is we look more to user fees. So here are the current cost recovery areas that we're recommending. Short-term registration for condos, we will be bringing back at the August 16th meeting, I believe. Hillegas, do you remember? You might not be in the Troy loop. Yes, so I think I saw it on the August 19th meeting. Building fund, building permit fees. Our building official and our building department has been working hard with the rate consultants to simplify the list, number one. So they will be bringing a first draft of their recommended building permit fees to a meeting also, we believe, towards the end of September. Community development, developer and impact fees. I'm glad you were all recently exposed to the mobility plan and the potential impact fees draft, so they're working on the feedback and they should be bringing that back again soon as well. NPEB is something that's had some discussion at the committee level over the past few months, so I think they'll be bringing something back about that as well to council to review committee recommendations. This is just an example of if we set a short-term rental registration for condos at $100 a year. That's and we think there are about 4,200 condos that are acting as short-term rentals out of the 7,000 that we count on our parcel counts. Recreation user fees. The Parks and Recreation Master Plan includes a fee study. So we'll be getting to that soon. A little bit about NPEB. And here we are at the next steps where we can speak in specifically about median maintenance, lifeguards, and September 5th is the next public hearing number 1. And then there's a few things that dates are to be determined for future revenues that we'll be discussing. So I would really love to council to start the discussion, and let's go from there.
All right. First, I got Councilman Guile.
Thank you, sir. I have a question for Andy. Andy, with the loss of Intergov, Tyler Technologies no longer supporting you. Not that they were a whole lot of support, but they're still forcing upgrades, even though we've asked them not to. That's collapsing the system momentarily. Are you sure? Are you absolutely positive you can manage without that one personnel? Because to me, I think you're hanging yourself out to dry. I really, truly do.
Yeah, we're definitely playing chicken with organizational fatigue. We're getting 20 to 23 tickets a day, and we're completing 18, 19. So, yeah, we could use a fourth person, there's no doubt. Balance that against the needs of the city right now and the need to tighten the belt. We'll do what your wisdom finds.
Yeah, I'm just afraid because we've already dealt with Compass in the past, and we all up here understand, anybody that has friends in the construction industry, how much of a headache it's been. So I don't anticipate it getting any easier in the transition and into that new software, wherever we go there. There's going to be a learning curve. There's going to be a lot of issues. There's going to be several setbacks. So even though I feel like every one of those positions is probably needed, I think that one's almost crucial. I would like city manager, somebody to reconsider that position as being cut, because I think it's going to be life-changing in the next couple months.
You can make a motion.
I make a motion to remove that, or keep that, yeah, add it back in.
I'll second that.
All right. Councilman Stevens, do you have anything on this, or you want to wait on that? All right, jump on in.
So in a former life, I was in IT myself, and I remember when we did a transition to Oracle, it kicked our butt, and having that extra body just to handle the smaller tickets while the higher, more knowledgeable people were able to focus on the new technology. So I agree that whenever we do implement the new software, you need to have that extra body, even if it's, so if we wait X amount of months until you start implementing it and then get that staff in place. And that's another option too.
Councilman Destin?
I guess for our IT man, is it possible to get contracts help? I know when we were at the school district, we took the whole computer thing, which was thousands and thousands and all the software, and we contracted it out to a company that just handled all of it and took it off our shoulders. Is it possible that you can get contract help and maybe more contract help to help you get through even easier than one additional employee?
That's a really good question. Interestingly, I tried an experiment this year where I removed the software that allowed our IT people to remote into to another computer and do administrative work on it, because I wanted boots on the ground. Most of our tickets involve actually going out and fixing, a printer, or fixing, getting a check to come off the printer, something like that. So of course you can offload significant portions of IT, but here in Destin, it seems like users are able to handle the stuff that they could call in and get a remote help for. What they need is someone to come make the volume work or something like that. That's just what I've observed.
Yeah, to that point, I've had Andy come into our council briefings. I'm like, dude, you're like the most expensive intern I think I've ever seen, in a good way. So thank you for always helping me. But yes, it's always in person. I've been on the back end of that. So.
I mean, kind of piggyback on that, is that something where we want to consider having like a contract labor or consulting monies lined up to where each department has access to that if they need it for staff temporarily? Is that an option too?
I guess anything's possible. It's a wide net. That's a wide discussion net. Councilman Bagley.
Yeah, kind of to Mr. Destin's point. I mean, if you need the person, you need them, and we should vote to support them, but kind of talk me through the next year and the transition that we're going through, because we'll have on-site help. I would assume the new provider will be here, at least for a couple of weeks in force, and then probably after that as needed or remote in. So what would this person that we're talking about adding do on top of that support? Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're referring to the vendor that's going to come in and help us implement MGO and that sort of thing, or whatever we choose. Well, this new person is going to be coming in fresh. They're not going to know the organization. So this is going to be the person that we're going to train up really fast, and they're going to be responsible for handling things like the finance office having a trouble, with a printer or something like that. That will allow me and the systems engineer to focus on getting the vendor and the departments communicating. A lot of the times the departments will lay out processes that need to be scrubbed before they go to the vendor, for something like that. So that'll be us two, and that leaves me with the network administrator to handle things like setting up a new account, or doing the integration with a new interim city manager, getting spun up on Civic Clerk, do some training with them, that kind of thing. That won't be able to be filled by the brand new person. That would be the ideal setup for the implementations we're about to go through. Now, as the implementations come to an end and they're working well, could we go back to 3 people? That's possible. We could go by attrition. One of my folks is military family, so we never know how long we're going to have them. So we have options in the future, but we know that for about a good 8 months for sure, it would be helpful to have 4 people. I think you probably need it anyway, because even now, before we've started the new implementations, if it wasn't for Jamie taking on a lot of the implementation of UKG, the new payroll timekeeping system, we would have been stretching our muscles pretty thin. So like I said, we have 20, 25 tickets a day coming in and completing 18. It just racks up, so.
Councilwoman Aber?
Thanks, Mayor. I was going to piggyback on what Jim was saying. If you can get somebody, and you kind of answered it when you were explaining, you've got a military guy, you don't know how long you're going to have them. So I know that we do have a lot of military in the area, and that we have a lot of folks that they have that kind of training, but they're not like looking to do that for the rest of their life. I think it would behoove you to have somebody at least trained and ready on staff. And then that way you don't have to panic if this guy, the family moves and he's gone and you're like scrambling to get somebody in for that 1 month notice you get from him. Okay?
Panic is the word, that's what I'd be doing.
Well, yeah,
Great,
okay.
great adjective.
And there you go.
And verb. All right, no further discussions. I'll call the vote for keeping the IT position. All right, ayes have it unanimously so moved.
All right, I'll add it back in.
Okay. Get back over here. And I guess my only thought on that, and kind of to tourism construction, I'm in content creation and everything, so that was just my red flag, was seeing us taking help away from Dr. T over there. I've run a small business of 3 and I've ran it solo, and you can get way more done with even just a second or third person that you can individually when it comes to marketing and content. There's editing. Someone's got to write copy, someone's got to be editing, someone's got to be our director, but I would just encourage anyone for a motion to help out our amazing IPO, or D now, director. Councilman Bagby?
Yeah, so I had a question about that. I thought I heard you say that we have a part-time content director, and then last meeting or meeting before last, I saw one in there for 29 hours for another content, social media, whatever they were going to be doing. So we still have the content creator. Are they part-time? Because I thought you said they were part-time. How many hours part-time?
29, maximum 29 hours a week.
Okay, and that's
So
so
this was
that
the
we don't
second
have to
one.
give them benefits or whatever?
No, this is just what was proposed
How
last
did we
year.
come, that is such a random, I mean, I understand 30, I
Well,
understand
yeah.
32.
We're budgeting at 29 because above 29, that's where you are
Right.
required to do benefits.
Right.
That's correct.
Okay, that's what I thought, that's why are we at 29 here? Okay, but, so then my question would be to Tamara, what would you do with 2 part-time content creators?
I think the specialties are very different in 2024. So years ago, you kind of had marketing folks do sort of all generalist, and now they're very much specialist. And it's just not accurate to think you're going to get a writer that's also a videographer, that's also a photographer. So I think we need more specialists, and that's what we're seeing in other cities. They're able to handle very particular pieces and be experts in that. So I would absolutely love to have folks that could do what they're best at and focus on that and shine in that. And I think it was maybe the 1 or 2 council meetings ago, we talked about what it would be amazing to have, at the end of council meetings, someone to do the highlights, to focus on the votes and things like that. That's not something the person that I have right now would be an expert in. So we just have so many needs that we could fill and do even more, I think. Yeah.
Okay, have we looked at an intern? Because there are a lot of Northwest Florida State College.
Right. I'm a former professor of 20-something years. Interns have great pieces, and they have absolute limitations. And to think that we can get someone in and get them up to speed, and then they're gone in 2.5 months, it's just not reasonable.
Okay.
Councilwoman Aber?
Well, first of all, I want to commend our PIO because she was so smart. Saturday night, I was like, what about these? You want to get pictures? She goes, I have hired people to take all these pictures. I've got contractors. That was amazing. And I know that was probably quite a chore trying to get the right amount of people that wanted to come cover it anyway. But some were like, would they be interested in doing something part-time?
Love you asked that. So in my opinion, I would adore having, as opposed to a second content creator, if I could have monies for professional services to hire directly for the expertise those people are in. I'm all for that even more. My fear is if you don't give that, and there's also not a second content creator, it's a lot for a public information office as a one full-time person staff. Yeah. But professional services, having that to like directly have the consultants would be amazing.
So would that be something we should, as a team up here, recommend that we give you the authorization to hire as somebody in that mode versus a content creator?
I would be giddy for that.
All right. Well, are you saying it?
Yeah. I'd like to make a motion to authorize the hiring of what kind of person would we call them?
Would be consulting.
It's consultants for various projects,
Consultant
exactly.
for various projects.
I'm quite frugal, so won't go wild, but for various projects as needed, that is absolutely what the Public Information Office needs.
That would be my motion.
Right, you
How much funds are we actually going to allocate for that?
Yeah. Councilman Bagby, seems like he's,
you.
we're gonna
So how
kill
much
two
did,
birds.
well, no, I mean, this is a math problem.
Yeah.
So how much did you spend this weekend on the 40th birthday bash for the folks who helped you capture all those amazing videos?
Thank you for asking. It's like $7,000, but that was also asking a lot of people I know to take extra. Again, we're quite frugal on what we do. So for a whole year, if I could get like $18,000 for a person, that would be way more than what I had and way cheaper than that second content creation.
So I'll make a motion that we add $20,000 to contracting services for the use of the PIO for special events.
I'll second that.
All right. I think you're. All right, cool.
I'm good with that.
All right.
Is that a substitute motion? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I was double checking if I had a second for, yeah, because Stevens seconded it, so we have a substitute, so.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, I think we're all okay with the substitute here. All right, I got no further discussion, so we'll call the vote. All right, ayes have it unanimously, so moved.
There you go, hon.
All righty. Reset that. I'm in. Yeah, yes, I think that's, we want to get the people first. Yeah, anyone have any other people ideas? Councilman Stevens?
Yeah, I know at the last one, with code compliance, we kind of mentioned about registration and seeing the possibility of that maybe going to either contracting or to another department to help offset that cost. So I'll see about if there's any interest in that. I mean, I'll go ahead and make a motion, see about potentially transferring registration to see if we can see how much it would cost to see how much registration would cost.
If
Yeah.
I may, I keep forgetting Troy was not able to make it tonight, but I'm 70% certain that that's part of the item that he worked on for August 19th. And I think increasing expenses for short-term registrations would be a good discussion to have at the same time we're talking about adding the revenues.
Then I'll leave that one alone. What about, I know I brought about code at night, whether or not it was actually worthwhile or not. So I'm going to go ahead and, see how it goes, make a motion to see about no longer having code compliance after hours at night.
I'd second that.
Councilman Baggy for discussion.
Yeah,
Yeah, no.
I'm just going to tell you straight up, I'm not going to support that, and I will advocate strongly against it. If you look at our noise complaints, almost the vast majority of our noise complaints, and of course, a lot of them are in my neighborhood, so I get it, I live out in the vacation area, without code, the sheriff's not going to come out and enforce the noise complaints. And, the security guys that all the little neighborhoods and HOAs hire, they're not going to enforce the noise complaints.
What
because-
about changing it to on-call at night?
That's not gonna work.
Well, yeah, part of it is philosophical with me, John, is no overnight parking. Okay, well, when are you going to check that? The only time you can check that is between midnight and 5, or whatever, whatever we define as overnight. So you're taking one of the, and people, it won't take but about 2 weeks for people to go, they're not checking over, they don't even have people at night. So all those little places out on the beach and all the little places down by, across the street from Dewey's and the other businesses down on the harbor, those parking lots are going to be not filled probably, but it'll just be like parking my camper there and setting up, because I know they're not going to do anything. It doesn't take long to do that. If we want to bring Troy in and say seasonally, in the summer, you need to have maybe 2 guys at night, and then in the winter, you might get away with, every third night or something like that. But to just say a flat out, no nighttime code guys, that's just, I got too many neighbors and too many friends that would just bite my head off if I supported that.
Councilman Destin.
Yeah, I'm afraid I'd have to echo that. I don't want us to get the reputation and that we don't have code enforcement but for 8 hours a day or whatever the regular working day is. While I have a number of issues I think we need to modify when it comes to code enforcement, that's not one of them.
Councilwoman Aber?
I was just wanting to point it out, and I realize Troy's not here, but Troy can't even fill those positions. He's several people short right now. So unless we change what we're gonna pay him, I don't think you're gonna get people jumping at, oh, I wanna work nights, because he can't keep those people. So I just want that to be aware that it's hard to get people that like nights, so.
All right, I got no more discussions on that. We will call the vote. Oh, I thought Councilwoman Aber, did you?
There was a second on the first one.
Yeah. Yep, so we'll run the protocol. Uh-oh. Okay. Oh, wait, no, there's a 4.
Yeah.
Is it 4? Oh, okay, I read that wrong. I was like, why is it 3-3? Yeah. I was like, how did that happen? Okay. I don't know. 4-3, motion fails. All right, so for the sake of before we get into the craziness, we do have our fire department here for the lifeguards, so I wanted to get him out. I appreciate Joe hanging in there with us so long, so I think for the sake of just, let's talk about the fire safety on the beach, and then we can get back into our internal stuff. There you go.
Does anybody have any questions on what was presented? I guess that's probably the easiest way to start.
Councilman Schmidt, is that for you? Okay, nope. No, I don't think I have anything. What we have in the budget right now isn't approved.
That's correct. We're just looking for, to ensure that council has no recommendations of negotiating, that you're good with this $282,000 that we've put into the FY 2025 budget and going forward.
All right.
Go ahead.
And if I could just remind this council, we don't have the beach safety, the lifeguard budget system. We don't have a built-in ad valorem or something that's a mechanism. So every time we need an increase or request an increase, this is the mechanism. It's me coming to you folks, the Destin Fire Board, and the TDD. And every 2 years, those players change, and that's not an easy task to do. I feel like we're this close to having a finished product on our beach, where hopefully I can, not that I don't enjoy all your folks, but stop coming here and having to do this.
All right, Kevin, since you're not on this, I'm
Yeah.
going to make, oh, you
Oh,
got
I'm on it.
Oh, okay,
I
gotcha.
shouldn't have a question for that. No, I was gonna make the motion to approve the 282,000 as proposed.
All right, second. Second by Councilman Stevens, and then you have any discussion on that?
I said 282, I couldn't find it.
287?
It's 282,
Yeah,
175 to
thank
be
you,
specific.
that number.
Okay.
Yeah, that number.
All right, Councilman Gao.
I have no issues with approving it. But what I would like to see is a very similar itemized cost like the sheriff's department did for something like this. Because just an arbitrary number of, hey, this is what our budget is, this is 282.
We can provide that. It basically covers your public trail entrances, the Noriega Point lifeguard towers and chairs, and the stuff that we have in the harbor as well. But I can provide that for you.
That'd be
absolutely.
great.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
All right, Councilman Bagby.
Yeah, I supported the increase to 200,000. I probably, until I see the specifics, won't support 282. Understanding y'all's funding mechanism and the TDD's funding mechanism and our funding mechanism, y'all actually, even though y'all are capped at 1 mil, you get to include Kelly, Regatta Bay, all those people in the ad valorem taxes that they produce. So y'all's is almost as high as ours, even though we have a 2 mil cap and you have a 1 mil cap. Also, have we looked at going to similar to Walton County, where Seaside has their own tower, Rosemary Beach has their own tower, going to some of these bigger condo complexes and saying, hey, y'all need to up what you're paying?
My background before becoming a lifeguard was in sales, and I actually put together in 05 and 06 when I first got here. I was a little bit of a younger man then. I went cold calling door to door, combined certain condos based off the size, the residency, and it was an epic failure. I was laughed out of the door. I could try that again, but we have done that. We have done that, and it did not work. The Holiday Inn actually was the only private entity to support it, and they did it for a short while, and then they stopped.
Okay. And so I appreciate the motion, but until I see specific numbers and breakouts so that we don't realize we're doing some of the things that we might be doing ourselves, I can't support the increase above 200,000. I agree, it's been, heck, I was on the council the first time we passed the 100,000 and everybody was all excited and upset, and it's been that way for 17 years. Holy cow.
Yeah, man. Councilwoman Aber?
Thanks, Mayor. I feel the same way. I thought we were going from 100 to 200. I didn't know it was going to be 282, so I'd like to see what the 200,000 is. And being in sales, that was the early 2000s. Things have changed. We're in 2024. There's a lot of people that go out in those rip currents that are in those condos. I bet you get a different reaction going out now and saying the city doesn't have the tax-paying residents to help us with this, but you could help us since these are sitting in front of your condos. These are your residents, your visitors. I'd love to see, I'd go with you. Hey, let's do some sales calls and see if we can't drum up some support from all those condos and buildings that have the residents, the guests basically, especially in the high season. So, but I'd like to see what it draws on past the 200,000 mark.
All right, Councilman Destin.
And I get where you guys are coming from, but we've not had an increase in 17 years. Safety of the swimmers on the beach is ultimately our responsibility. I'm proud that the fire department and the lifeguard services are taking care of it. I'm almost afraid to look at what their real costs are, because I think we owe far more than 288 probably. You're being subsidized by TDC also, and the county, which is the same thing. But, those figures should be interesting. My fear is when they get the figures up, we owe more than that. So, I'm going to support it at this time.
All right, Councilman Schmidt.
Yeah, Joe, 200 to 282, has anybody else been increasing more, like in this go around?
I met with the TDD this morning at 10 o'clock this morning.
How did it go?
It did not go well. Their current stance is that's what you're getting, and it's going to be that way for a while.
And did they increase from last year?
They actually decreased. They gave us an arbitrary number. There was no agreement in place, and then they actually reneged on about $50,000. So I've actually had to cut some services this summer. I don't want to throw rocks at them too bad because they have come a long way from where we started, but that is reality. That has happened.
So
Services were cut.
We 1.4. This year, we had to cut the lifeguard chairs on the entire beach 2 weeks too soon to make up that money. So we still have the roving patrols, and basically what we did, we just ended that summer season, the peak season, about 2 weeks too short to make that difference up.
So, yeah, I agree with everything Mr. Destin has said, and I echo that completely. And I think for maybe a couple years, I have maybe, joked and made comments about, TDC should be paying. Well, they're not. Well, I'm sorry, they are, but they should do more. And so that's why I want to put my money where my mouth is, and hopefully others will, and we will step up. I get that TDC should do more, but, we might need to make the first step to show that our commitment, and do that to support you. I would ask, if council, I can change the motion. We could take the 85,000 from public safety code compliance off on that item if it makes other people feel better about supporting the $82,000 increase. So there's a line item that was presented for 85,000 for code compliance to reduce from 15.5 FTE to 14 FTE. So, or increase, something like that. And so not sure if anybody's, I don't know how many people were supporting the 282. We might not need to remove that at all, but I'd also be happy to remove that item to make some other people feel better about the increase to the fire department, beach safety, but I can also leave it just as is.
Yeah, just to clarify that $85,000.
Sure,
That's
please.
just the year-over-year change
Oh,
from
okay.
what we adopted in 2024 to what we were proposing for 2025.
So then reducing it.
Basically, you would be saying code compliance, make a 0% increase.
Right.
All right, Councilman King.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I understand where everybody's coming from as well, and would like to see, I'm not as interested in seeing the numbers, but if you want to give them to us, that'd be awesome. I will support the motion. I think you guys do far and away more than, we ask, and I think you should have all of our support. So, especially in light of safety, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense for me to not vote for this, so I'll support it. Thanks.
All right, Councilman Bagby, rounding it out.
Okay. You said how much the TDD was giving you next year?
It hasn't been voted.
Right.
Turn it on.
Discuss it.
It hasn't been voted on, but they're proposing 1.4.
1.4. Okay, and so in your report, you said that your personnel costs were 1.301280, and that's 83% of your cost, your total cost. So that means your total cost would be $1,567,807 plus or minus a little.
And that would include, if you do the 1.4 plus your 100,000 that you've currently giving us, that would bring that number
Well-
within that ballpark. Am I not mistaken?
Yeah, but if we're going to give you 200, if they're giving you 1.4 and we give you 200, now you're completely covered because only 83% of your costs are personnel, and that's 1.301. So what I'm asking is, what's the fire control district giving next year, and what's the county outside of the TDD giving next year?
The county contributes nothing outside of the TDD.
Okay.
Currently, what the district is planning on, what we're trying to do with the TDD is start to purchase the assets so that we actually own all the vehicles. There's multiple reasons why we do that. Having that control does let us flip those vehicles at a little bit better of a time period, rate of return on investment as well, but that's currently what we're trying to do. We also don't bill anybody for the services that our HR people provide. That's always been kind of left off, and I've seen how conveniently certain government entities do that. They bill for the payroll and that sort of stuff, and we've never done that. It's just something that, so there is skin in the game there as well.
Okay. But I'm just saying, if they're doing 1.4 and we do 200, that's 1.6, which means there's, another $30,000 plus or minus that's left over for replacing equipment or what. I'm just trying to that's why I want to see the numbers. I think everybody up here agrees, y'all do a great job, and we want the beaches to be safe. I just want to make sure it's kind of fair all around, and I can justify the numbers to me. Bye.
All right, that is the last discussion on this end. All right, any last words?
Thanks for coming.
All right, I'll call the vote. Not even fair, I don't even get to vote on these. All right, there we go. 5-2. I can do math. Wait.
Now you don't have to go to condos.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy to help with that. All right, Councilman Bagby, I believe.
Oh, okay.
We're done people.
I don't even know where to start here. Let's see.
At the top.
At the
Bring the
top.
machete.
Okay, so we've taken care of the,
Can we have a 3-minute break real quick?
you can just take off. We
Well,
won't-
Oh, Ray.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
Ray.
Ray
Yeah,
wants to,
Ray-
yes, Ray needs
Ray
to, yes.
always gets
Yes,
away.
all
I'm
right,
sorry.
3-minute break. We're almost there. Oh, we're waiting on
So did
King.
you see that we?
Councilman King's at, so we're just gonna go ahead. We got quorum, so I'm gonna call this meeting to order. All right.
All right. So I don't know if I go by my list or I go through the brief, but one of the conversations, and I'm in support of bringing the median maintenance in-house, and I'll make that motion here in a minute, but I'm not in favor of buying 7 mowers. Okay? So now, on new vehicles and equipment, right, you've got 2 48-inch Z-Track mowers, and you got a 60-inch. And then you got a trailer for hauling them. So how big's the trailer? Can you fit all 3 mowers on there at one time?
Yes, sir.
You
It's going to be a
can.
20-foot trailer.
Okay. So now in our R&R, on the very next page, we have an athletic field mower and 3 Z-turn mowers, 24, 20, 20, so 48, 88,000, and 108,000, 128,000, 132, 152,000 just on mowers. Now, maybe we need to have a conversation about what I call programs and policies. So, you know, because right now we got, well, I got my mowers and I'm going to mow my little athletic fields, and I got my mowers and I'm going to mow my medians. And, you know, personally, I'm not sure you can do 3 mowers in the medians because you're going to have one person edging, you're going to have one person blowing, probably going to have one person picking up the trash on this 4-man team while to make sure that the mower blades don't hit rocks or hit bottles or hit whatever. And maybe we think about, and I will leave this to the city manager and the staff, but maybe we think about just having a mowing section, and they mow the athletic fields and they mow the medians. And, you know, if they need 4 mowers to do that, okay, but we don't need 7 mowers that we buy all in 1 year. I cannot fathom that we need that. And I understand one of them's an 07, one's a 12, one's a 19, you know, but I think we need to, this is one of those areas where we might need to do things a little bit smarter or a little more coordinated or something. So I don't know how to, you know, I don't want to tell you, okay, you're going to get 1 and you're going to get 2 and y'all figure it out and live with it. But at the first meeting that the budget comes, revised budget comes back, I would like to see us with a mower plan where we don't buy more than 3 mowers in the next 12 months. Is that, and one of them needs to be a really big mower. I get it, because the athletic fields, you know, you need, heck, you need the tractor with the mowers, you know, that, just like a golf course. I would support that, to do those, do all our athletic fields or whatever. But we don't need 7 mowers in 1 year.
So page 32 of the CIP and R&R lists all of the equipment that we use for all of our grounds. Would you be open to hearing about how many acres that we do every day currently with this list of equipment? Because I believe, Ryan Reed, you're the primary person.
Yeah, probably between all the properties that we do outside of, you know, because the medians are contracted.
Yep,
It's
we
probably
do
a little
Matty
over
Kelly,
100.
we do, I got it, yeah.
Yeah. So probably a little over 100 acres through the week. So
Okay.
we run a crew with 2 mowers just to do everything that we currently do. And those mowers, probably over a span of 3 years, 4 years, I'd say about 1,700 hours on it, to maybe 2,000. So they get beat up because they're used pretty much
No,
every day.
I get that, guys.
Yeah.
That's not my point. If you need 2 mowers for 100 acres, and we're hiring 4 people, and we say we need 3 mowers for those 3 people, I'm sorry, that doesn't pass my logic test. I'm not saying you shouldn't get your mowers. I'm not saying, Public Works shouldn't get their mowers, but I think there's got to be a smarter way to do this. And what y'all have presented us tonight is not a smarter way to do this. And whether y'all work it out and you share a mower or y'all split up the 100 acres or what, but 3, I know I can't
And the
support.
100 acres does not include the medians.
No, I know, I
just to be
got
clear.
that.
Okay.
I got that, because we're bifurcated by our departments, not by our projects or by our programs. So we got these people mowing grass, we got these people mowing grass, that's fine if that's the way we want to do it. But I know when you hire 4 people and one's a supervisor, the other 3 aren't just going to be doing mowers. They're going to be, hopefully, they're going to be edging, they're going to be blowing, they're going to do everything that a landscaping company would do, pruning trees and doing all this. So I would say, if you want me to make a motion tonight, that I would say, figure out 5 mowers and what the priority for those 5 mowers are and bring that back. But I'm not going to support 7 mowers in 1 year. And I got it, you got a lot of area, and some of them are really old mowers, but.
Yeah, don't forget, until recently, we didn't have a renewal and replacement program, so a lot of these are just there.
I get that.
Way long overdue, but we do have a program for the
Okay,
replacement.
so I would say the 2019 mower, you keep it and you cut 1 from Public Works, okay? I might cut 2 from Public Works, but, because that 4-man team there's not 100 acres of medians, but they're not just mowing either. They're pruning and they're edging and they're blowing and they're fixing irrigation lines and all the stuff that you have to do.
All right, staff, or either one, Michael, you want to go first or
No, I believe
respond?
the Pro 72 is a specialized mower, isn't it?
Yeah. I was going to say, for the athletic fields, we have larger mowers currently for that don't need replacement. All these Z-turns are, like at Morgan's is your common areas, your parking lots, stuff like that. But yeah, there's 2 of those that we run and those are larger. Yeah.
That's why I think we need to do it smarter. I got you doing the athletic fields. Why are you doing parking lots? Parking lots, to me, would be a Public Works thing, but there's no, yeah, and he's going, I agree with you. They should be doing it.
We use them in our facilities, like say Morgan's has a parking lot, we go around that with a Z-turn. But we do Marlar parking lot and stuff like that in a lot of the facilities that aren't Parks and Rec related where a Z-turn is necessary.
Okay.
I think we're on the same train here.
We are, so I'm going to make a motion that staff bring us back at the next meeting, or the next meeting where the budget is brought up, a mower plan. And who's going to cut what? Because I agree Parks and Recs probably wants to keep cutting the ball fields. And Public Works, if they're going to hire 4 folks, they're probably going to have to mow more than just the median.
All right, so I have a motion on the table for a mowing plan. Do I have a second?
So, Mr. Bagby, if I can get some clarification. So the direction is to bring median maintenance services in-house and not attempt to contract it out for 25.
I haven't made that motion yet, but I'm going to make that next. First, I'm looking at the equipment, then I'm looking at the people.
I'll second it, but I have some.
Okay, I got a motion and a second, then Councilwoman Hebert, if you want to take the discussion.
Okay, I'm going to ask a question. You may have special types of mowers, but we have a 48-inch turn large lawnmower we just bought, and it was $6,000. Why are all of these 20 grand?
These are commercial units. What you purchased is a retail unit. These are heavy-duty. We just got a mower in for Parks and Recreation. How much was it? It was $13,000. It's a 48, right? Yeah, it's a 48 and it's $13,000 just for
So the
one mower.
20,000 for all of them is just a guesstimation in that it'll round out that some may be 13, some may be 22. Is that how, okay?
That's correct.
Okay. Yep, I got no one else. Kevin, you
So
good on that?
do they have mowers on the state contract? They probably do. They have every other type of mobile vehicle.
I think that it's John Deere mowers, and we purchase ours through Beard, and I think we get the Sourcewell prices for those, similar to Omnia that we were discussing earlier. It's
Okay.
a cooperative purchasing program.
Okay. Because if the last one we bought is 13,000, y'all just saved about, 7 times 7, $50,000. Thank you. Okay.
Okay. I got no further discussions, so we have a motion and a second on the table. Motion by Councilman Bagby, second by Councilwoman Abear.
And that's just to bring us back a plan.
That's the
not
for the
approving
mowing plan.
mowers.
That is, let's put this all under one hat to the best of our ability. All right. The next meeting that has the budget, so might probably not, go ahead.
September 5th.
The first reading meeting? Okay.
Okay, September 5th, okay. All right, ayes have it unanimously, so moved. And
Okay, I'm
Councilman
going to
Bagby?
make a motion that we bring the media maintenance in-house at a savings of whatever it was, I think $12,000. But it may be a bigger savings once
Second.
we don't buy 7 mowers.
All right, is that a second? All right, Councilwoman Abear with the second. Any discussions on? All right, go ahead. Councilman Schmidt first, got you in, then Destin. Take it so I don't mess up this whole order thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not too big of wanting to bring it in-house. I think I've expressed that a few times, but I'm also still shocked. I'm perplexed, shocked. I don't know what the word is, but we continue to have problems getting bids for things. And I talk to other areas, towns, and that's not always the problem. So I don't know what we're doing differently. And so I've been told we put it on this portal and that portal and that portal. I mean, I know this is probably a whole loaded question for a whole different discussion, but I mean, me personally, I would, rather put it back out to bid and start knocking on doors and get Mr. Joe from the fire control and go sell our bid package for median maintenance to contractors. But if we've tried all of these avenues, what's our backup plan if our in-house doesn't work? I guess that's, after all my blabbering just now, my real question is, what's our backup plan if the in-house doesn't work? We don't find people, stuff like that. What's our plan? Michael?
Counselor Schmidt, I've been here 6 years, and I know Lisa did the median maintenance before I did. Contracting out median maintenance has always been a problem. Every year, every month, it's always something. At least with an in-house staff, we will have direct control, accountability. I made some notes. I even put customization. Mayor Bobby and I talked about redoing some of the landscaping. Instead of paying a contractor $60 to $80 per hour to do landscaping, like planting new plants, we could do that in-house. Consistency, flexibility.
What happens if we don't find them? What happens if they quit? What happens if we don't have them? What are we gonna do? Right now, we can call the next janitor to maybe clean the bath. Like, what are we gonna do if we don't have these people on staff?
Public Works always finds a way.
Okay.
You like that?
All right, I like it. Sure.
And these guys know me. We'll make it happen. I will, and I'm not gonna make a promise, but I'm gonna tell you what my goal is that you all will never have to call me on the weekends and at night about something to do with the medians. That's the goal. Not a promise now. I want to get that on the record. But that is absolutely my goal. I'm just, I've been without a deputy director for 11 months now. And having to do the contract management end of this job too is tough. And at least with the infrastructure, the tools and the talent in place, I think we'll be able to find success in this type of program.
Councilman Guile.
I think one huge advantage in-house is the authority that you're going to have over the personnel. I know if I deal with a subcontractor, if I'm on a job site where I have a subcontractor, it's hard to find the supervisor, it's hard to find the superintendent. You're dealing with somebody that doesn't know what English part of the time, but even if they do, they can't comprehend what you're saying. And I think you're going to have more authority, more control if it's in-house, and I think we're going to end up with a better product overall.
Great, all right. No further discussions? See? Oh, Councilman Destin, I'm sorry. Final words.
Final words. I could not support bringing another 5 employees in to do maintenance on the medians. While our Public Works Director's 6 years of experience have not been pleasant, I can go back 20 years where we never had a moment's problem. When you add 5 more employees or 4, those are permanent positions that will get the merit raises, will get the cost of living increases. It's building the organization more and more, and we can't go back. And it's a tremendous amount of money, $400,000. You know, I'd point out the debate about the mowers. I supported that because we always need a plan, but you don't need mowers for the contractors. And I don't really understand why we've had the problem we've had in the last 6 years when it worked quite nicely for 25 or however many it was going. So I can't support adding more and more and more and more employees, which is what we're doing here. We added one for IT, probably needed it. At what point do we say we've got enough employees and we need to do some of this through contracting, which most people who have been in this business long understand is almost always cheaper. So that's my stand on adding more and more people to the empire.
Councilwoman Hebert.
Thanks, Mayor. I agree, Mr. Destin, but unfortunately, whatever we're doing to get these contracts to come in and give us a bid to do the maintenance, we've been at this for months, and we can't get anyone to come in and say, we'll do it for $300,000 or less, and it's not even like we can get but one group to come in. So I feel like we're spinning our wheels, and ultimately, we're having our staff are having to do it anyway because we don't have people doing it. So I agree, we don't want more staff, we don't want more expenses, but we have to get it done, and we can't, where are people out that are already in those departments working overtime to take care of something that they need more help to get it done.
All right, seeing no further discussions. All right, gonna call the vote. In-house landscaping, mowing, maintenance. All right, 5-2, ayes have it.
Ready?
All right.
Yeah, and I will caveat that last vote. Because to bring it in-house doesn't mean you bring in 4 people. Because when they come back with that mower plan, and I realize that he only needs 1 mower and he only needs 2 mowers, I would expect to see some folks who ride mowers not be in the plan. Okay, so I'm not just talking about when I say a mower plan, it's a little bit bigger than that. It's not just we're buying 6 or 4 or 3 mowers. So, because I agree with your point. Once you go down that road, it's hard. All right.
But before we move on, can I just ask a clarification point?
Sure.
So when we bring back this joint Public Works, Parks and Recreation mower plan, I'm envisioning like locations, acres per week, number of laborers to match the equipment. Is that what you had envisioned, or did you have?
If I were a city manager or
Well, yeah, don't point at Crystal
incoming
anymore.
city
Don't point at her
manager,
anymore.
I would say, I would bring us, here's everything we mow, okay? Now Parks and Recs are doing the ones in pink, and Public Works is doing the ones in green, and Joe Schmo, who's in admin, he does the edging around this area or whatever, and this is what we are actually responsible for. And here's the equipment that we have. We have 25 mowers to service, 110 acres. And this is how many people support that, and here's what we're going to do with it. We're going to give it all to Public Works, so we're going to give this to Public Works, and Parks and Rec's going to keep this, and they're going to give one of their people over to Public Works because he's been doing the Matty Kelly grounds or the whatever at that point. So I would like to see a holistic plan personally, but that's just me.
Mr. Bagby, could you make a motion that I would get Miguel Maldonado?
No, absolutely not.
Employee of the Year.
He doesn't look good in blue.
Mayor, just so we're clear,
Yes, sir.
we voted to bring it maintenance in-house.
We gave him direction to bring it to in-house for
We
the
did.
budget for that
We did.
phase
Now, in the
one.
budget, it presently has 4 positions. So we're going to reconsider that, or are we just approve 4 positions?
I think the labor component needs to be part of the mower and the location and all the acreage.
And so that'll be possibly different when we get to the final budget?
That's correct. So when we come back with all of these details, I mean, maybe we could accomplish this, but we're publishing for the next meeting, the August 19th meeting. We're publishing that this Thursday. So I don't know that there's enough time to make the full package and make it comprehensive and pretty and colored and everything by Thursday morning. So it probably has to go on the September 5th. And you're correct, it might result in a change to the budget that we're tentatively proposing on September 5th.
And until we, the budget, it really doesn't mean much, does it? Other than it's a proposed
That's
budget.
correct. And you, as the policymakers, also have the opportunity, even after September 5th,
We do?
because it's your ordinance, it's your budget.
Yep, thanks.
Okay, I still got like 10 things. Okay, you'd asked earlier, Mayor, about what you could do over in Tallahassee to help. I'm going to give you a task, hopefully, here. Once Crystal tells us, when do the 2 CRAs expire?
One of them expires in 2037, and hold on, I have the dates on the second one here.
That's probably the harbor.
So Town Center CRA expires in 2037 along with its debt. The Harbor CRA expires in 2043.
Okay, so if you really want to do something, you need to say, because of the '08 crash or COVID, or you can come up with 100 different reasons, you need to get a 5 or 10-year extension on, if we vote, a supermajority or something, I don't care how they set it up, to extend those CRAs, because the whole thing about a CRA district was we were going to redevelop. Well, there's probably at least 5 years that I can, since we brought them on to now, that I can say nobody was redeveloping anything. Everybody was just trying to hang on to what they had. So if you want to advocate for something, that would be something great, because that would take the legislature to do that.
Okay, so that's a state statute right now that it's up to
That they
them?
expire after.
Yeah, the sunset is on
The
their.
fixed dates are up to the state statute.
We're asking for the ability to amend the date
Yeah,
to push it, okay,
to extend it, because then we can collect that tax revenue,
further on. Yeah.
even though we signed half of it away in the harbor, but that's a different point.
We'll
That
wait.
just pisses me, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm going to make a motion that we, and Kim, I'm going to need your help, because I think first we would have to amend the short-term rental registration ordinance to include condominiums.
We don't have, it depends what you want to do. If we're just going to have a fee for registration, we can do that in the resolution, because the ordinance has a lot more requirements that I don't think we're going to apply necessarily to condos.
Okay, because that was my point. If we needed to do the ordinance, because we can't make them put signs on condos.
Right.
Because they don't actually own those outside
Yeah.
walls, you know? There's some things that we can't physically enforce in a condominium that's part of a larger
Yeah.
condominium association. But if you're saying we don't need to amend the ordinance, just if we're just going to set a fee, I'm going to make a motion that we set a short-term rental registration condo fee of $300 per year.
All right, I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second for discussion.
So the one thing I'll say is, while we won't amend the short-term rental code that we have existing, I would probably recommend that we just have a quick code provision that says, basically, condos are required to register, and the fee is set forth in the resolution. That way, for code compliance, we'll be able to enforce it if someone doesn't pay the fee. But other than that, we do not need to amend the ordinance.
And just to refresh my memory, the smallest house is $500 per year? Oh, Troy's not here. Anybody?
Alan, do you have that figure off the top of your head? I know you're not necessarily in the day-to-day on short-term rental registrations. You don't? It's our Resolution 23-13 schedule fees. Okay.
Yeah, my point, and obviously there's some reticence up here, so I'm happy at 250. I'm happy at 200. I probably wouldn't go below that. Condos are not, or if you want to set it by square feet, they shouldn't pay what a full house, but to me, it doesn't make sense that somebody's making revenue off a short-term rental in a condo, and they don't have to pay, aren't subject to the same kind of pricing that a short-term rental house is. So, but a motion is as it is, and somebody can do a substitute, because.
So, to your point, less than or equal to 2,499 square feet, it's 500. So 500 is the lowest one. Yeah. No, I'm about to change it to Ray. Ray, it was Councilman Kevin Schmidt, not Johnny King for the second. Yeah. Yeah. Connie cannot be wrong on this record twice, on this exact record. Councilman Destin.
While I support the concept that they should be paying a fee and a reasonable fee, my problem with bringing it up tonight is we had quite a group that was very interested in that issue last time we talked about it, a council or two before. The fact that we might be setting that fee tonight has not been advertised.
Well, when we do the ordinance, we would have 2 public hearings, so you would have the public have the opportunity.
I still feel that they think they would have been ambushed by having it brought up tonight and voted on with no notice to them at all to even be here and make us.
Well, maybe you can amend the motion to just direct us to prepare the ordinance, and that way we don't actually set the fee yet, but when the ordinance comes back, the public will participate.
And if you will make that concession, then I won't have a problem.
Hold the 300.
Yeah, I'll make that change to my motion. I respectfully disagree, because the budget we have a special meeting, and everybody in this town knows we've been looking at short-term rentals applying to condos. But for peace and love, I'll change my motion to direct the ordinance be drafted.
With a $300?
Peace and love ordinance will be drafted.
All right, and Councilman Schmidt, you cool with that? All right, got the heads up. All right, Councilman Guile wants 3,000.
My reticence has nothing to do with the fee. I just think you're too low. I think it needs to be 500. I'm here to support you, but I just think it needs to be substantially higher.
When it comes back in a public hearing.
Councilman Schmidt.
Yeah, I'm with Mr. Destin. I think 3 times now, so this is set
That
up
means
to
we
be
get to go
good.
home early.
I do want to also, I'm not sure if, when y'all are looking at it, but at those meetings, when we talked about this, and after that meeting, there was discussion about how to look at adding the timeshare people and some of the hotels. And so I'm hoping when you bring the ordinance, are you able to bring in the details about what that would require so we can have that discussion the same night?
Yeah.
I guess whatever the research is to be able to allow us to include timeshares and hotels, because I know we talked about, will they pay the development or impact fee? We all got that, but I think many of us also said, but they're ongoing impacts, so.
Yeah.
Like when you
It would be
prepare
the
it.
same kind of thing that we would need to do.
I don't know.
It would be an ordinance. So if council wants to include hotels and timeshares, then,
I just didn't know if legally we could, so.
I mean, charge a fee? Yeah, we can charge a fee.
It's not easy then, all right? Then you don't.
Do you want to make that motion? Or, I'm sorry, we got a motion on the table, I'm sorry, yeah, hold on, my bad, my bad. Anything else, I'm sorry? Councilwoman Abear.
I
Make you a second motion.
I was agreeing, basically, same thing. I was like, well, wait a minute, we also have other entities that are making money that aren't paying anything now that they've been built and they're done. So the impact fee's been paid, and I agree with Kevin. We need to make sure that we do this across the board. So I'll let the vote go and then second.
All right, seeing no further discussions on the current vote for bringing the ordinance back at 300 as a fee, I'll call the vote.
We're bringing the ordinance like in a draft form,
In
right?
draft
It's
form,
not-
yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
no,
first
no,
reading.
we're gonna.
Actually, I was going
Sorry.
to advertise it for first reading, so if you just want it for discussion first, we can do that.
So then can we,
Yeah, it's still 2 meetings.
so would
And
you
if I
change
may,
it?
Kim, you also recall on August 19th, our code director was going to bring this item to council to look at the whole picture, both the revenue side and the expense side, and who would manage the program. So there will be a discussion point under the city manager. So your ordinance, I'm just putting that out there so you can think about the timing.
So do we want to wait till after that?
I'll make a motion to table until the 19th.
Second. Motion is second, there it goes. All right, call the vote. We're voting the table to Monday, this next Monday, the 19th.
There is a item on the agenda. It's not done yet, but I did see the name on the agenda that condo fees are being discussed on the 19th.
And we can bring up the other items.
Yeah, so we're tabling for the 19th of August.
Well, and that seems like the fair thing to do. I mean, it gives, I get that there's
Call the vote.
there's a million items on this agenda, on this budget, but, you know, it gives people, this is a hot button item right now. It gives people the opportunity to come speak.
All right. Table, we just gotta go straight to the vote. I can't, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. You haven't talked much. I letting you get your, that's your good, that's what you get for being sick. All right, ayes have it 6-1. We'll table that till next Monday to get the full picture. All right.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be any clearer next Monday, but it doesn't matter. Let's move
We're
on.
moving forward together
And
in confusion.
Troy's not here, so maybe Jamie, and you can answer this question. I want to make a motion that allows pro pay for code enforcement officers who work only weekends and nights. So if you work 3 days during the day, 9 to 5, and then you work at night on the weekends, for 8 hours, that we have the ability, or the city manager and HR in coordination with the employer have the ability to pay them some kind of pro pay. And I don't
Yeah,
know
we
if-
do have a shift differential policy in place
Okay.
right now at the administrative level.
Okay, and what is that?
And Jamie, you can recite the shift differential rule.
we pay employees $1 extra per hour when they work past 6 PM and every hour they work on the weekends and also before 6 AM.
$1 an hour.
$1 more an hour, yes.
Seriously?
Yes.
I don't even get out of bed. Okay. I'll make a motion that we revise our, what do we call it? Not pro pay.
We
Shift
call it a
differential.
Shift differential pay.
policy.
Have staff come back with an amount not to exceed $3 an hour. More, yeah.
All right, I have a motion on the floor. I'll second it. Got a second from Councilwoman Abear. Any further discussions?
Did you hear servers are making more than our
All right, call the vote, sorry. Councilman Stephen, there we go. All right. At least he's consistent. All right, 6-1, ayes have it.
Okay, but question on Buck Destin Park site work. So you're bringing in a contractor to do the site work. We already own all the bathrooms and all the equipment. You told us that last time, right?
We have purchased the modular unit that will be the bathroom. We just need the architect to work with the engineering to complete the engineering design for its final location and do the permitting. And after the permitting, when that gets close to complete, then we'll bring in the people to complete the site work. And Ryan is here in the audience, and he helped us prepare the estimate for the actual site work component. As you know, we just encumbered the engineering design and architect side.
2 questions. Did we look at moving the site to the west side of the building? Okay, thank you, which makes it a much shorter run for the utilities and stuff. Thank you. It's amazing. Okay, and
You're so good, Jim.
no.
You're just the
No,
smartest.
I don't know anything, but I know to ask questions. And then Ryan or Crystal, when you say site work, does that include the emplacement of the buildings on top of the concrete block or whatever the heck, that completes the installation, right? The number
Ryan,
you
you
gave
can-
us tonight?
Ryan can go into the details, but it includes the wastewater and everything.
It would be installing a new sanitary sewer gravity line from, was that Legion? Legion up to the existing building and the new building. New water line, repairing the road because it's going to go under the road there, and then the foundation, and then the building that's already bought to be put on top of it.
Okay, so this is the I guess my question is, other than inspections or whatever, we don't need any more money to get these bathrooms installed and working.
Shouldn't, as long as Jenkins and Dag come back with that number, yeah.
Thank you very much. Cost recovery. I don't even know where to start on that. I noticed you didn't have, you had one little bitty bullet about rec and fees, and I thought we were going to have a fairly lively discussion on these cost recoveries, like building permits and impact fees and NPEB and rec fees. And I didn't see rec fees actually mentioned except the one time, and not that we were going to, at some point, we're going to bring you back a recommendation.
Right, so rates for recreation was one of the items in the Parks and Recreation Master Plan that is out for RFP right now. So we were anticipating those consultants to lead us through. As you know, our rates are covering less than 15% of the cost right now to run Morgan's in the community center. Council may choose to simply adjust our current existing schedule of fees to increase the existing rate range up 5%, 10%, whatever you think is reasonable until we have the results, because it could be another 9 to 12 months before we actually have something recommended by the contractors that we haven't seen that we haven't hired yet, because we haven't seen the proposals
Okay.
yet.
And so you're kind of going where I want to go is we need to give you a percentage, a capture percentage. I thought we had that in our, I think it was an ordinance, not a resolution, but anyway, say we want to capture 50% of the cost here or 30% of the cost there or whatever. But I would like to ask staff to bring us back just a recommendation probably at the September 5th meeting, we would like to capture on building permits, on impact fees, and rec fees. And then give us a place to jump off from in our conversation about, well, I think that's too high, or that's increasing it too fast, or not increasing it fast enough. The one question I did have, though, on the NPEB, can we do an assessment on just parcels on the harbor? And maybe this may be a wording thing. Y'all use the word assessment, and to me, as a realtor and a CAM, and assessment means something very specific.
Right.
And I'm not sure we can do that on just harbor parcels.
I have been involved in communities where they did choose to only no, it was actually the parcels that had frontage on canals. They chose to do a special assessment for canal maintenance. So you have different types of special assessments that you can do. I'd bring in a special assessment specialist so that it would, stand up in court if ever pushed against. But and then Kim is also familiar with different types of simple fees that you could do as well. So, but we were just looking at originally the NPEB fee and just adjusting it.
And I got, you're just trying to cover costs, and I completely understand, but I think if we were to attempt a special assessment, there would be a vote involved of the property
That's
owners.
correct.
And
That's
I'm not
correct.
sure they're going to vote to tax themselves $100 a year, or 100, whatever, per slip. So,
Oh, you don't like that?
I think it's a bad idea.
yeah. Well, I'm not really fond of the idea, but I just want to do something that's legal, that we can justify and stand behind, and that we can actually get across the finish line. And I don't think we're going to get a vote on slip owners on the harbor to vote themselves a special assessment.
There is probably just a misnomer in that slide. They were originally looking at just adjusting the base for calculating the NPEB fee that we currently charge, instead of having it be on, to your point, somebody's papers that say how much the value of new construction or redevelopment of their pier is going to be, that we base it on just something that's simple and flat and year over year, and that everybody pays to try to get the reoccurring revenue. So I don't think anybody was intending to go down the special assessment route. They're just looking at changing the formula base for the NPEB fee.
I can see basing it on square footage of the surface, number of pilings, or whatever, but I don't think that model works, and I would ask staff to bring back a model that works. And maybe, okay, we'll do a special assessment, which means another $10,000 for an election.
No, again, I don't think any of the recommendations that you're going to see from the committees include the idea of a special assessment. I'm
But
pretty
what
sure
had
they're all
happened
different.
was somebody on the harbor had come to a meeting and suggested, instead of doing like a lump sum amount, when the dock was maintained, replaced, whatever it was, a little more than maintained, replaced, they suggested doing an annual fee that they would pay. Instead of paying once, they would pay a little bit each year.
Okay, and then I think my last thing is.
Can I interject? Yeah, I got a couple
I'm
things
sorry.
here. Yeah. Did you have a motion? You had a motion? So what was the motion? Because I don't have a second. Yeah.
Staff to bring back a schedule of proposed recoupment percentages for each of the following: building permits, impact fees, NPEB, and rec fees.
Second.
I got a second from Councilman Schmidt, and then you are up.
I was just going to echo that, and the rec fee, we said at a previous meeting, a couple things. I thought we said, one, you were bringing us a fee increase based upon internal cost calculations. and that was coming. And two, the master park plan was not going to A, delay the park rec fee schedule increases.
Yes,
Because now, I mean, nearly my entire term here, we've been talking about park and rec fee schedule, and
Yeah, that's correct.
now you just said it's gonna be in the master park plan, so.
It
I just wanted
is-
to echo Mr. Bagby, and we need to bring something back, so that's a great start, because it sounds like
Yes.
the cost recovery thing is
So,
not happening
just
anymore.
two updates. Number
Sure.
one, it is in the Parks and Rec Master Plan.
Of course it is, I know that.
Number two, I do have a really good accountant on staff right
Right.
now, and she's been working very closely with the community center and the Morgan staff, looking at all of their programs. The program list is too long to do the perfect accounting for everyone, so they've been working on putting the list together of their most common programs that they do year over year. They've had trouble coming to agreement on exactly every cost and how to directly, which costs are direct costs to each of the programs. Right now, I'm looking at an indirect cost rate of over 85%.
So if we can't even come up
So
to an internal agreement, how are
We're
we gonna let
still
a
working
master park
on
plan
making sure
consultant?
that those expenses, get directly to all their
Right, okay.
programs. We don't have a full-time accountant sitting
Right,
in
right.
the community center. We're short-staffed, so.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's an iterative process for that part.
I hear you, and I look forward to what he's asking for, because it's worrisome to me if internally we can't come up with an agreement, like internally. What's the point of paying a $50,000 master park plan consultant? How are they gonna,
And as you
how are they
know,
gonna take our information, and do
70%
that?
of the cost is personnel for the recreation and for Morgan's. And this week was our first week going live with the new UKG timekeeping program. So up until now, everything was kept on paper. We didn't have a reasonable way for people to tell us which programs they were working on throughout the day, kids club or whatever. So we are improving. It's just not at the speed of having a lot of staff at our fingertips and the best technology at our
Sounds good.
fingertips.
Thank you. Councilman Destin.
Thank you, Mayor. I really enjoy cost recovery fees. That's a very benign name for increasing taxes and fees. And of course, it goes back to your philosophy of what are taxes for. I will support the motion to get some recommendations, but I would suggest we should be very careful about what we're doing. The 300 proposed, which may not be the right amount. I know Mr. Giles would like more, and perhaps others will like less, but that'll generate $1.2 million a year, every year. And so if we go up on recreation fees, which after all, the city only provides some pretty basic things. We don't provide a police department, we don't provide water and sewer department. We do provide recreation, and that was one of the very most important things that led, along with the community development aspect, to the incorporation of this town 40 years ago. And at that time, people kind of thought the taxes were what were going to go toward those opportunities. They still are. Should we raise the fees in a reasonable amount? Probably yes. But I think we need to be very careful. And as far as the fees on the slips instead of the NEPB, it raises a couple of interesting questions. The NEPB fund calculations were based on a study. You have to have a study. There has to be a nexus between what you are charging and what the cost is costing the public. The other interesting aspect would be people who have built new docks in the last 20 years paid an NEPB. They paid what they were supposed to pay to offset the impact they've had on the harbor. And then there's always the small aspect of this that Florida Department of Environmental Protection believe that they own that, and they charge us all $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a year, every year for our submerged land leases. So, that'll be a very complex and mostly very unpopular undertaking, I think, on our part. But if the council think that's a good thing to do, I guess we'll move forward.
All right, Councilwoman Abear.
I was just going to reiterate that what Jim said, and of course, Kevin, like to see a fee proposal, because we have been at this, we've been up here for 4 years and haven't been able to lock anything in, so look forward to that report.
All right, so I got a motion and a second. I see no further discussions on the board. I will call the vote unless someone needs it repeated. All right, 7-0, ayes have it.
Two more quick things.
Don't lie to us.
No, seriously. You've added $140,000 for annexation, opinion, survey, and potential meets and bounds survey. How much is the annexation opinion survey going to cost?
Yeah, these, I'm not sure where these numbers came. I just, this was Lewis before me. Can one of the directors speak to the opinion survey and meets and bounds
No, if
estimates?
they are in the loop, because it was Lewis talking with the surveyor, and he's not here. But we can get the information and bring it back. I don't think Tina would have it yet. Do you? Ryan, do you have it? Okay, so I will probably be able to get it from Cindy, Lewis's assistant, and bring it back to you.
Okay, because we're in the survey season, some of us, and that's a pretty big number.
Was the number,
So a lot of that would be your meets and bounds. I think we're at like 100,000 plus for the survey for the land survey.
I mean, the main portion of the money was definitely the meets and bounds. The statute requires that each property have a meets and bounds legal description. We can't just refer to a platted lot. So
Yeah.
that's costly because there's a lot of parcels involved.
Okay, I would just ask, and if you want me to make a motion, I'll be glad to, but I want to see the breakout of that $140,000, because that is a pretty good-sized number. And I understand the meets and bounds survey, but it doesn't say you actually have to go out there and survey them. You have to pull up what their property listing, and if it's got the meets and bounds, you've got it, is my understanding. Is that incorrect, Ryan? I see you shaking your head.
Yeah, I don't think that's correct.
We gotta go out there and.
Well, then let's go find out.
Yeah, we gotta propose the land we're about to annex.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they gotta redo the majority of it, but I don't know how that business works.
Yeah, but not each parcel, I guess is.
I don't know how that works.
Okay. All right. And then my last thing, I would make a motion to cap the,
I'm sorry, Councilman Destin, do
Oh,
you have
I'm
something on that topic?
I was just going to have a quick discussion on the meets and bounds. Yeah, please, The original incorporation bill had a meets and bounds descriptions in it that included all of the areas to the county line. I don't know if we can use that. Land hasn't changed much. And then someone went in and excluded all the property that was excluded out. And so if we had the old original that was actually in the incorporation bill, that would have what we need, as long as we're talking about bringing the rest of that area into the city and not little pieces here and there, which I hope is not where we're headed.
No, I'm right.
Yeah, don't these reports expire? You have to vote within a certain number of
Ryan, you got that for us?
days. Do you have that number?
So Lewis and I had some discussions about this, and we're still like fact-finding, because we were saying, or I was saying to him, like, generally surveys expire after a certain amount of time. So I don't know if for this type of survey, if we can get it done now and then it's on the ballot in 2 years, if it's still fine, or it has to be synced with a time frame of the survey to when people are actually voting on the matter. I don't know. And that's what Lewis was going to start looking into.
And of course, they do expire, but if you're going to do one and you have the old one that tells you everything you need to know, it's always cheaper to do it that way.
I like where you're going with that. All right.
Yep.
All right. Yep, I'm liking that.
okay, and we'll make a motion that we limit the merit increase to 2.97%, or $225,035, which is the exact same as the COLA, so basically you can get up to a double COLA.
Okay, so we'll stick with the ordinance side. We're going to reduce the merit budget allocation from 303, we're going to move that down to 225,000.
And $35.
Okay,
Somebody's going to get 35.
225. Well, that'll be maybe
Well, that's the
budgeted,
motion.
right?
That's
So-
not, it hadn't passed yet.
All right, so I do have a motion on the table. Do I hear a second?
I will second it so we can talk about it.
All right, we got a second from Councilman Destin. Do I have any discussions? All right, Councilman Destin, you want to jump in, or are we voting?
Yep, I'm looking for ways to save money in our budget, which so far we've not done a whole lot of tonight. By the same token, I would like to see us have a merit program that's somewhat different, maybe a little more innovative, that we could have employees who could suggest ways that we could save money at this city. We need to start looking at a lot of different angles. You know, our cost and recovery, I've looked a little more closely at that. It appears we're selling vehicles that have 50,000 miles or in that range on them only. If you do the math on that, at 7 years, that comes out to a little under 20 miles a day. That means one of two things. We shouldn't be selling them, or we have too many vehicles in the first place. You know, our fencing project that we've attempted down at One Harbor is another example where we should have looked to figure something out where we could have saved some money. I think it was 25,000, and now the changes we've made probably have driven it up considerably more, probably. Mike, tell us how we save money by the changes.
Yeah, so I got an email a little while ago from Bracewell's Fencing that the only additional materials required, I think, is like $300. So the poles we already set in the concrete, we've already set in the concrete. We're going to see what we can do with those. Councilor Aber and I met out there last week, and we may try to convert those into some parking deterrents. But I did also, while I'm on the subject, get 12 new no parking tow-away signs with the sheriff's non-emergency number on them. They came in this morning, so they may already be up. But it was just a few additional poles and a little bit of bracing. That's all they have to do to finish the project, hopefully.
In any event, I would question putting up a chain link fence around the property we just sent is an appropriate step to take when we could have done a number of other things. So we need to review these kind of things. And I would love to say, okay, we've reduced our merit pay by this much, or we're going to roll this over to employees who come up with innovative ways for our city to save money. And we're going to give you a pretty good chunk of money. You know, if it's a percentage of what you save or whatever it is, I'd like to see that money roll over to a new program, because unfortunately, the way government works is nobody really cares what's being spent, because all you got to do is raise money through taxes and recovery fees. And so then there's no real motivation not to spend money on things that we shouldn't. So I'll support this, but I would bring in another, what I like to call innovative merit pay idea for the employees who can come up with ways and means to save the city money and perhaps not go forward with some things that it appears we go forward with without a lot of thought. So I'll support the motion, but I will try to work with the staff to come up with some kind of a program that we can get a little more bang out of our buck for the merits.
Crystal, you said you had something for that?
Yeah, I just say our HR director is our administrative internal policy driver. We'll take those into account, your recommendations. But just don't forget, this is, you know, this is at the administrative level. But the budget is definitely at the policy level, so we're making the adjustment to the policy tonight, and we'll that's correct.
Man, it's like he wrote the rules or something.
Right? Like he wrote the rules or something.
Councilwoman Aber?
Thank you, Mayor. The merit increase, is it flat across all employees?
No, ma'am. It's on your work anniversary. The bulk of our staff that we currently have were hired between January and September, so we don't have a lot of staff weighted early on in the budget year. And it's really based on, we have a very strict protocol on the points that you receive in your evaluation, and a director has to describe in detail how you got to a certain level
Number.
on your evaluation. And Jamie can describe more of it if
I wanted to, I know what it's all about, because that's how our company is. The first company I've worked for, this current one, everybody gets the same 4% every year. It doesn't matter if you're a crappy employee or if you're stellar, everyone gets 4%. I wanted to make sure that we take care of the people that are going above and beyond, and so that's why it's set up. That's all I was trying to verify, because like I said, I've seen where they just, everybody gets the same thing for just being on board. So, thank you, that's my only
Jamie, can you
question.
talk to that?
Yeah, well, I'll just also add that probationary employees also don't receive the increase. So that is a portion of employees that aren't subject to the merit increase. Well, it's for the first year. So, yeah, you have to wait a full year of employment before you're entitled to a merit increase.
That's good
So,
too. Thank
and,
you.
yeah,
Thanks
with our
for that.
turnover right now, we don't have very many that are eligible for the merit increase.
Unfortunately, hopefully we can get some people that want to stay.
Councilman Bagby.
Yeah, because, not my current job, but previous jobs, it was the same way. There was a set amount, or what you're describing. But the manager had, you could give someone 0, even though the monetary amount was usually 3 or 4%. You didn't give 3 or 4%. You could get 0, or you could get 1%, or you could get 8%. But the manager had a fixed amount of funds, and that was their bonus allocation, and they distributed it the way, and of course, management's responsibility was to go, whoa, your administrative assistant does not get a 20% merit increase, and all your line workers get 1% increase. That's not how this works, just because they bring you coffee every morning or whatever the heck they do. Thanks.
All right, I got a motion and a second on the floor. I see no further discussions. I will call the vote unless we need to repeat it.
Limit the merit increase to 2.97%, which is the exact same amount as the COLA increase. So you can have a double COLA, basically, if you're a high performer.
Actually, I think the motion was reduce the merit from $303,000 down to $225,035.
Right.
To keep it at the budget.
My
Right.
original motion was to match the thing, but yeah, that's fine.
Different
Same thing.
approach.
Yeah.
All right, calling the vote.
Okay.
4-0.
Is there an alternate motion that anybody wants to make, or will we just move on to the next item?
All the no's want the same merit number.
I'll make a motion that the merit bonuses are based on supervisors and directors' discretion.
All right, have a motion?
Second.
So we'll just keep what's in the budget.
Keep what's in the
Leave
budget.
what's in the budget.
That's what it is.
Yeah, that's what it is.
We have a cap of 4?
No.
That's what's in the budget
The
for.
current administrative policy has a cap of 4%. That's
But
correct.
within that is what Kyle was
And
talking-
this
okay.
is the amount that would, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So administrative policy can be changed by administrators, is that not correct?
That's correct, but you're at the policy level, you set the budget. So you can lower what we've budgeted here to 225, or in this case, we can just leave it at the current budget amount of 303,000.
So this motion is to leave what's there right now? A little redundant, I'm afraid.
Yeah, so I think,
Well, basically, it was no motion, just leave the money there.
If I can clarify just a little bit, we can keep the 4% merit increase with the 200 and, what was the motion? Thousand, we can make both things can happen.
Yeah,
Yeah, because not everybody gets the 4%.
which is why
We wanted to get the
I just
money
wanted to
out of
save
the budget.
$100,000, but it's fine.
all right, so Councilman Gallo, are you good? I'm a little lost in the weeds. Do you want that motion, or are we?
No, if they say it's no
All right,
motion
I was just
necessary, it
making
just
sure
falls
before
back.
I
We're good.
assumed we're pushing. All right. All right, who else has got a list?
I've got one or two that I was
Yeah.
gonna kick around.
Go ahead.
Kevin, you don't?
Okay, I suggested and requested that Crystal look at a 3% reduction in operating budget, and that we could use that money for another task such as reduction of the debt on our 25 million or whatever that amount is. And so I'm going to move that, bring back a hard and fast number for us. We kicked around that it was 700, 800. We didn't have a real number. Bring back the number so at least we can contemplate what it would be and whether we want to move forward. We've spent an awful lot of extra money tonight. We haven't cut back on anything. So I would like to have that number so that we can have some skin in the game when it comes to paying that debt off. If we do the 300 on the short-term rentals, that's going to generate, I think, 1.2, right? We estimate. If we can get another 600,000-700,000 or whatever it is by reducing 3% on operational budget, which is completely done. Now we're a long way toward paying off that $25 million debt and saving $2 or $3 million in interest over the term, and not having to go to cost recovery and tax increases. So that motion is to just have Crystal bring us that hard and fast number back.
Second.
All right, got a motion, got a second by Councilman King, Councilman Schmidt.
No, it's just have my turn.
Okay, vote for something else, okay. All right, I'll pull you off and start you back up. All right, so we're gonna call that vote. All right, ayes have it unanimously, so moved. All right, Councilman Schmidt, or do you have one more thing, Councilman Destin, or is that a different topic? All right, Councilman Schmidt, you want to jump in?
I think most of the other things that I had talked about. I think most of the other things that I had scribbled down here has been covered by motions by other people.
Great, all right, Councilman Schmidt, floor is yours.
Awesome, thank you. Thank you, Crystal, and thank you to all the staff members for being here tonight and for all your efforts into this entire budget cycle that we're nearly almost done. I know it's very, especially with everything going on right now, staff-wise, so thank y'all. I'm going to hit up the budget item. You know, again, we talked earlier tonight about we've made plans in the past year or two on different things, the parks, the Morgan's complex, that we've continued to not do. We are going to now do the playground, which was not a planned thing, but an emergency thing, and so we're going to take care of that. We're going to do the lights, which again wasn't really planned, but apparently it's an emergency thing, and we need to do them. So I just really am getting concerned about not sticking with some of the plans that we're trying to do. We've also talked on this council for many months about getting a plan for future things over there, and we've heard bits and pieces of what should be done over there and what needs to be done. I truly believe that we can sharpen the pencil on a couple of items, on the large items, and I think we can bring back the option to do some of the stuff that was planned. And so I'm going to make a motion to decrease the light line item by $200,000, to decrease the community center line item by $200,000, and to add Morgan's FG field upgrades and batting cage with $400,000.
All right, I got a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
I'll second for discussion.
All right.
And so I appreciate it very much. And Again, I do believe the community center, I'm not opposed, well, I am opposed to doing a lot of things to that community center, but I do think that original bid that budget item is based on, I do believe that can get sharpened down, because that is a pretty old proposal, and I do think it's lacking some clarity, and I think we can get that down. And then I think the lights, I think, are pretty high from different industry people I've spoken to. And I think when we go out to bid on a project like that, I think there are options that will be able to save us some money. And so, again, I'm not saying to completely remove those things, but I'm just trying to finish some things that have been planned by the Parks Department for a couple of years. And I think Lisa and them have said recently at one of these meetings that they wanted to do a batting cage over there. They recommended that one night, and obviously the field stuff has been there as well, so that's my proposal.
And just so I have that, I got minus 200 from the lights, and what was the other one?
From the community center.
Community center.
Roof, stucco, window, 700 and something thousand.
Gotcha, okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, Councilman Gao.
Ms. Firth, how many times did you put the community center out to bid? Before you actually got a bid?
Several times.
Several times. How many people actually bid whenever you finally got a bid, after several times?
I don't think we ever had
So-
anybody.
I'm sorry, we put that RFB out 3 times, received no responses, even though we were told we were going to get responses by individuals. We never got a bid in 3 attempts.
So we're deducting money from a proposed plan that we can't even get people to bid for one reason or another. I guess that just doesn't make sense to me. And I do know that we did get a bid, at least one bid on it, but it was excessively high, in my opinion, because I think they realized nobody else wants to bid it. But I don't know how we can deduct money from a plan when we can't get anybody to fix it.
All right, Councilman Destin.
That was essentially my argument. Price is not going to go down. It's gone up in the period between when we got the bids and now, or in the future. So what we're really saying is we're just not going to do that. And I think that's inappropriate to, as I said earlier, we'll watch that building fall down around our ears if we just continue to not fix it.
We can only hope. Councilman Bagley.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I understand what the motion was. So it's 200,000 from the windows replacement at the community center and 200,000 or 255, whatever it was, for the lights at Morgan's Sports Center?
It was 200 from, it's not just the windows at the community center, it's that full-size project.
Oh, the entire project?
Right,
Okay.
which is full-size project, and then 200 from the 1-point-something million light project.
Okay.
This is the 2025 budget, 1.3 million for
Right.
the Mortgage Center lights.
From some money that we're moving over from 24 because it was in, and, yeah, no, I just trying to track all of this. And having sat across from the community center for about 8 hours Saturday.
I thought that was you.
That was me. The mildew above those Rolladin things, and I hate to say this, but that is just a sad-looking building, and it needs a little love. And I agree with you 100%. We need to sharpen our pencil, and if we can find a bid and it comes back below the 1.3 million, I would say, yep, every one of those pennies plus the 111,000 that we're saving from the other projects this year. I think we can cobble together at least part of what you're trying to do, but I want to see the building fixed, and I want to see the lights, because those lights are costing us money. Yeah. And so I'll work with you to find the numbers, because I agree with you. It's kind of like the 7 mowers thing. There's stuff in this budget that we really don't need, that we can find, 100 or 200,000, but not the community center or the lights.
Councilman Schmidt, final
Yeah,
item.
yeah, sure, thank you. Just for clarity, I think Lisa has said, and maybe you can tell us tonight, but because Mr. Gao didn't think it was possible, but haven't we said somewhere in some of these meetings that we can sharpen the pencil and have staff do some things internally from that exact bid? We could do some things and we could probably lower it?
Yes, sir, yes.
So it
I
is
did say-
possible that that full big amount?
Yes, that was a budget,
Right.
number to go
Right.
with. We're gonna have to go out and get another
Right.
quote.
And we
And there's
could do-
stuff in there that they put in there that, yes, we can do in-house. Yes,
Like removing the shutters.
like
Right, so,
removing the
yeah, I mean,
shutters,
like,
the
that was,
inside.
my basis was previous conversations of, we can go lower because we could do it in-house on some items, so, that's the only reason why I threw that out there, but yeah, I'm good to go. Thank y'all, and thanks, Mr. Bagby.
Where did you come up with the, where'd you come up with the $200,000 number removed from that job?
Well, considering it was $700 and something thousand, you talking about removing from the community center?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I was just taking a 20 to 30% decrease and doing it in-house. Because I tried going line by line and I'm not a contractor like Mr. Gao, so I couldn't really understand all of it completely. Because it was very confusing, some of the line items, but I just kind of took a 20 to 30% swat at it.
I just was curious. I didn't know. I'm not a contractor either. And what I realize every time we look at this budget is it seems like there's a lot of things that are just kind of rounded up a little bit. Not really, but.
Because
I
in past
was trying
years,
to take
they
two
did
even
the
numbers,
opposite
200.
way, and as you can see, we're not getting anything done.
I'm not criticizing. I think I'm very grateful for this document. I just was curious as to if there was a specific way you came up with that, just to see.
It was what I think we needed to finish what we've been planning and what's been talked about, so maybe 400. And then where do we take it? I think from talking to people, the light, I think it can come down by approximately that much. And I think that internal stuff, and that's kind of how I just got the even number.
I would note, with all due respect, I would be on board with taking 200 because your expertise in a lot of ways is, I mean, you have more expertise in the lighting and stuff, not taking anything away from Miss Lisa, but, I would be more inclined to go along with you on that than I would be to take money away from the community center.
All right, Councilman Stevens, and we will call this vote.
All right, so just to clarify, the infield stuff, is that the netting, the batting cages, and the artificial turf that you're talking about?
It was specifically to do the turf infields and the batting cage setup.
Okay, so that does not include the field netting, right?
I don't necessarily know what the field netting is, if they want, but no, it was mainly the turf, and then and I understand there's a lot of the Destin Water users discussions and things like that. I think we all know that, but I think with our partner of Destin Water users, I believe we will be able to work something like that out. But I wouldn't let that hinder, in my opinion.
Okay, all right, we'll call this vote.
Real quick, would you be interested in, would you consider, I mean, obviously we'll see how this vote goes, but I would be in full support of taking $200,000 away from the lights, but I'm not going to support this in light of taking it away from the community center.
Miss Lisa, can you weigh in as the person that's in charge of all of that? Is what he's asking reasonable, or, I mean, help us up here understand if this is going to help without hindering the community center, because we know it's got to have a lot of love.
Well, that's kind of a hard one. I mean, I think we can save money, but then again, this is over a year old, this quote. But maybe there'll be somebody else that'll, come out, and we just really need to go through the specs of what this contractor said I needed, what we needed to get the community center back and running. So I think there's definitely some items out of that scope of work that we can probably remove. Now, Crystal, I was going to ask you, with that R&R, we have, I think, 100,000 left there. And I know we need money, but that could take care of the batting cage. You know, that's one. We could get started on that this year.
So the batting cage is not budgeted in this year, but we do have funds that we're not planning on expending that amount to just over $100,000 in the renewal and replacement for Parks and Recreation. So that's one more motion that council has the potential to make, is that remaining $100,000 that Bagby was talking about earlier, to please do an internal transfer to apply it to putting in the batting cage, which we estimate it would be about $100,000 to lay that foundation and level it and set up a proper batting cage here at Morgan's.
Just to answer your question, Mr. King, I appreciate your olive branch, but I'm gonna stick with it because I don't think that's gonna get the ultimate goal of what we're trying to do. And I'm just gonna roll the dice and also work with Mr. Bagby and other people in the future and just hopefully we come under the final number whenever the actual bids come later, and then we'll find the dollars. And I think he said he would support at that time putting the money towards some of these things. So, but that's kind of why I don't want to. We need 400, I think, not just 200, and not 300.
Councilman Destin, weigh in, you good?
Question, I'm not clear on the artificial turf. Is that going in the batting cage, or where is that going?
So the motion is to do artificial turf on the infields of the two fields, the lower fields, which I believe Ryan and Ms. Lisa can speak to if they would like as well, but those are probably the worst of the worst when it comes in regards to rain and standing water and the additional upgrades and fixes that they have to do over there. So the two fields right here by the road. Inside the batting cage, usually they cover it with concrete and then they put like a carpet over it, but that's not what we're talking about when I said that.
Well, I'm not real clear on the merits of artificial turf. I know we had one artificial turf stadium in the school district and never built another one.
Right. City of Fort Walton, I think, just got done installing four, and then they are completely adding entirely new fields, recreational fields to be turf as well. So they're about to.
They must know something we didn't know.
Right. But just for insight.
Ryan, did you not tell me that Fort Walton Beach has got a settlement issue because they improper?
I heard that those artificial fields are not draining properly.
All right, Councilman Bagby, final words on this?
Yeah, so we've got 111 that we've identified. We got to identify another 289 to get to the 400,000. And I will kind of echo what Mr. Destin said. And the solution is not, oh, well, we're going to charge the condos and we're going to fix everything's going to be happy and we're going to get Kevin his 400,000 and we're going to get Miss Lisa her. The reality is we've spent more for an IT person, more for PIO consultant support, hopefully less for mowers, more for lifeguards. So we keep going up and up and up. At some point, we have to take a stand here and say, no, we're going to actually cut some things. Or we're going to have to say, we're not going to do 6 sidewalks or 300 feet of sidewalks or whatever, because we would rather spend that $100,000 on the ball fields. And we're now to a point where we can actually, at the first budget meeting, have those kind of discussions to say, I sharpened my pencil and I found this 100,000 here. I would rather move that. I would like the council to set a different priority. And so I would just encourage everybody, before we come back on September 5th, you go through the back of the budget, which a lot of people don't do, and say, how many mowers are we buying? How many cars are we buying? How many air conditioners are we buying? And you'd be surprised. It adds up to $400,000 fairly quickly. So, thanks.
Councilman Gao.
I'm going to relinquish my entire annual salary as Destin City Council to help with the budget.
You're too kind. But when we get that Councilman Destin's new idea of saving money, does that count for us too, right?
Yeah. I'm giving up my health insurance.
All right. We are going to call the vote for the budget transfer of $400 to. 400,000. I wrote 400 down on my page here. All right, you guys have the motion. I about said we're doing a budget for 400. 400,000 is the motion. So we're going to call the vote.
Mayor? Do you want to add that to the original motion that Mr. Smith made, or did you change
No,
that?
I'm not doing that.
Can I read the original motion, and then if you want to,
If you want to reread it, but I think if you got it, I think we're good. I just said 400 versus 400,000.
okay, the original motion was to decrease the light project line item by 200,000, community center upgrade by 200,000, and add 400,000 to the Morgan Sports Center field upgrade and batting cage. Is that?
Is that a?
Probably doesn't matter since we won't win, but specifically F and G fields. For what it's worth, for the record.
He's going for it. All right, calling the vote. All right, 5-2, it fails. All right, anything else on your list? No. All right.
September something.
Councilman King, you got anything on your list?
More try.
Yeah. Bring a very large, sharp pencil.
Can I bring like expert witnesses at that meeting, or are we just taking? And how does that work? Okay, all right.
You had your shot.
I've tried that a few times. It hasn't worked yet.
I was waiting for you to take the field on that last public information. Yeah.
No, I would make a motion to take $200,000 from the light allocated funds for the light project and the additional $111,000 to put towards the Morgan Sports Center upgrades that Mr. Schmidt has presented.
All right, motion and a
I'll
second.
second.
I think this is about the same, so any further discussions before I assume? All right. Yeah.
So what happens when the light bid comes back at 1.5 million? And now we're not 200,000 short, we're 400,000 short. Just asking for.
I'm going solely based on Mr. Schmidt's expertise and research, and he says that it's not going to cost that much.
Okay, how did we come about with the $1.3 million number?
Musco Lighting.
And is that a Sourcewell contract?
Yes,
or
ma'am.
It's, I know that we're
Yes.
trying to piggyback off of what North Florida
Okaloosa schools use them.
recently.
Yeah. You can go cheaper, and I'm not saying that's what you're talking about, Councilman Schmidt, but you have to also be careful with the appliance that you do go with, because there's cheaper and not better lighting fixtures, is the way I've heard.
I have found that you usually get what you pay for. And if you get cheaper, that just means you're going to replace them more often, or so. I think we can find 400,000, but I'm not willing to find it out, the light thing tonight.
You got it? All right, calling the vote. All right. 4-3, all right. All right, one more. They want it. All right, I think we're all in agreement that it seems like as a council, we want the fields, and I think we'll hit this at the 5th, at September 5th. All right, anyone else have anything for the good of the order?
Y'all have a nice Monday.
All right. Oh, public comments, yeah, of course, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Come on up, Sandy.
Yeah. It's another one of those free employees.
I'm sorry, Sandy Trammell, Indian Trail, Destin. I was not here for the birthday celebration, but I did watch the drone show. Somebody videoed it, and I watched all 15 minutes of it. So I thought it was great, and I think we need to push toward that for our citizens as well as our pets. So let's see if we can't get the harbor people to help us pony up some money sometimes, along with the city, to see if we can't get that done. But I understand from the mayor, it was cheaper than fireworks. Yep. So if it
Don't quote me
was,
fully, but yeah.
let's go.
Yeah, but I mean, I have under good authority, but I don't have any data. I believe it is. All right, well, I appreciate it, and I'm in favor of that idea. All right, it is 9:41. I call this meeting adjourned.